People like you are labeled parasites. My brother's accusation pierced the air as I stood before him, his wife, and our mother. The weight of their condemnation bore down on me, a burden I could no longer bear. We're going to be living together from now on, so can you leave? Those words echoed in my mind, igniting a fury I could no longer suppress. I, too, am flawed, imperfect in my own right. Yet their unkindness only fueled my resolve. No longer will I endure their scorn silently. It's time they realized the mistake of underestimating me. With determination as my guide, I plotted to confront my brother and mother head-on. My name is Jessica, a 37-year-old office worker. 3 years have passed since my father's battle with cancer ended, leaving behind a final plea for me to care for our mother. It was this solemn promise that drew me back to the family home. But instead of gratitude, all I received were endless demands, as if my sacrifices were expected, not appreciated. I'm heading out to grab dinner with the neighbors. Can you spare some cash? She casually tossed the request my way. Make sure you have some money ready for tomorrow. It's my friend's birthday, and I need to get a gift. Her demands seemed endless. Our vacuum cleaner is ancient. We need a new one, the latest model, she insisted, adding yet another item to the list. Each demand felt like a weight pressing down on me, her temper flaring if I dared to object. Reluctantly, I found myself acquiescing to her desires. Managing the constant stream of requests became a chore in itself. To streamline the process, I made her an authorized user on a separate account, transferring a lump sum to cover her expenses. As a single office worker in my later years, I've dedicated countless hours to my career, resulting in a substantial income. Additionally, I've wisely invested in stocks over the years, building a significant nest egg. However, these details are kept from my mother, a habitual spender whose tendencies would surely drain my savings. Yet for now, her frivolous habits aren't a pressing concern. Unbeknownst to her, I diligently save while she continues to splurge. Our monthly expenses tally around $4,000, largely due to her extravagance. I recognize the wastefulness of our situation, but altering it proves daunting. I'm not prepared to sever ties with my mother, despite the financial strain. Conflicting emotions towards familial duty cloud my judgment. Is valuing family a facade, or simply a sign of vulnerability? The driving force behind my continued existence in this distorted reality is the pledge I made to my father. He was my beacon of integrity, hardworking, compassionate, and forthright. From a young age, I revered him, striving to emulate his exemplary character. Following his sage advice, start early, reap the rewards, I began stashing away funds during my student days, laying the groundwork for future investments. Even upon entering the workforce, I remained steadfast in my savings pursuits, eventually amassing enough capital to venture into the world of investments. Throughout this journey, I absorbed invaluable lessons on financial literacy, a legacy passed down from my father. Armed with knowledge, I navigated the complexities of investment with relative ease, reaping profits and avoiding major pitfalls. Similarly, I mirrored my father's work ethic, seeking his counsel whenever I encountered professional challenges. In the early years of my career, post-work drinks with my father became a cherished tradition, providing a sanctuary for candid discussions away from the tensions that sometimes brewed at home. While my mother's presence occasionally injected discord into our conversations, those moments shared with my father offered solace and clarity amidst life's tumult. Under my father's guidance, I flourished in my career, finding both success and a newfound sense of self-assurance. My passion for my work deepened, feeling a profound dedication to my professional pursuits. Despite remaining single, I harbored no regrets about prioritizing my career. Life unfolded in a familiar rhythm. While my mother's extravagant tendencies remained a concern, I chose to focus on my work, allowing her the freedom to indulge in her habits. Yet, amidst the demands of my job, my mother insisted on assigning household tasks, blurring the lines between work and home life. Determined to maintain equilibrium, I endeavored to balance both spheres of responsibility. Over time, I honed my domestic skills, mastering chores, and even refining my culinary talents. I viewed these endeavors optimistically, imagining they might one day serve me well in marriage. Nevertheless, the weight of my mother's expectations grew burdensome. I sensed the need to break free from the confines of this suffocating existence, yearning for a life unencumbered by her demands. Amidst the chaos of my daily life, the presence of my older brother and his wife only served to compound my troubles. David, my elder by 2 years, and his wife Lily, who coincidentally shares my age, began frequenting our family home more often. While their visits weren't inherently problematic historically, David and I never saw eye to eye. Our personalities clashed relentlessly. I embodied the conservative and prudent traits inherited from our father, while David mirrored our mother's impulsive and carefree nature. Since childhood, David's approach to finances mirrored his personality. He spent recklessly, devoid of any foresight or planning, living purely for the present moment. Yet despite his financial missteps, he possessed a cunning charm, adept at winning our mother's favor whenever he found himself in need of funds. "Mom, I truly appreciate all your hard work and dedication to keeping our household running smoothly," David would croon, effortlessly weaving his way into her good graces. "I promise to lend a hand with chores next time." With honeyed words, he effortlessly manipulated her, securing whatever his heart desired. Not only was David adept at charming our mother, but he also excelled in sports, particularly soccer, where his skills earned him admiration from the community. To our mother, David was the epitome of pride, a son whose accomplishments reflected positively on her. Basking in his accolades felt akin to receiving praise herself. Thus, it became routine for her to indulge his every whim, showering him with affection and gifts. In contrast, my strengths lay in academia, lacking the prowess displayed by my brother in sports. Consequently, from my mother's perspective, there was little cause for celebration in my endeavors. I appeared unremarkable, often overshadowed by David's achievements. In the eyes of our neighbors, I was simply known as David's sister. This dynamic fueled my mother's favoritism towards him, leaving me feeling overlooked and undervalued. Moreover, my close bond with our father likely exacerbated her preference for David. Despite our father's attempts at impartiality, my mother's partiality only deepened David's arrogance and hostility towards me. Our strained relationship only served to further entrench my mother's allegiance to him, perpetuating the cycle of favoritism and resentment. "Jessica, move. You're blocking the TV." "Why should I? I was here first. The anime I've been waiting for is about to start. Move from that spot on the couch." "What? You've recorded that anime. You can watch it later. I want to watch it live now." "Just move." David's self-centeredness was a common occurrence, his desires always taking precedence. Despite the blatant unfairness of his demands, our mother consistently sided with him. Even in moments of conflict or disagreement, she remained steadfast in her support of David. "What are you doing, Jessica? David's show is starting, so move and let him watch." "But I was watching something." "Quit being selfish and let him watch." "You go back to your room, you're just in the way." Mother's scolding reverberated through the air, her tone sharp and unyielding. Left with no recourse, I retreated to the solace of my room, while David claimed the couch without a hint of remorse. As if to underscore her favoritism, Mother returned with snacks and juice exclusively for David, disregarding my presence entirely. In the absence of our father, such partiality towards David only intensified, leaving me feeling increasingly alienated. Growing up amidst this dynamic, it was only natural for me to distance myself from David. As we transitioned into adulthood, my first encounter with David's wife, Lily, left an indelible impression. "So, you're Jessica, David's sister," she remarked, her words dripping with disdain. "You're every bit as plain and unfashionable as David described you. It's no wonder you lack any charm." I was rendered speechless, the sting of Lily's words cutting deep during what should have been a joyous family gathering. While such comments might have warranted reprimand from other family members, David and Lily appeared to revel in their cruelty, leaving me with an instant aversion towards Lily. Her disdainful remarks became a recurring theme, tarnishing even the most cherished family gatherings from New Year's celebrations to Independence Day. "Jessica, we're the same age, yet here you are, still single. Have you ever even had a boyfriend?" Lily's taunts echoed through the room, amplified by David's chuckles of agreement. "No man would ever consider someone as ordinary as you. Jessica's always been devoid of worth, with nothing to offer." They jeered in unison, their words a harsh reminder of their disdain for me. In my father's absence, David and his wife seized the opportunity to demean me, with my mother offering no defense, only joining in their laughter. Consequently, every family gathering at our parents' home became an ordeal for me. Several years ago, when David was transferred for work, the frequency of these uncomfortable gatherings diminished, offering me a semblance of peace. However, his recent return brought back the unwelcome intrusion. Regardless of the season, David and his wife now visit every weekend, disrupting my routine and exacerbating the tension. You're still as unremarkable as ever, aren't you? Living at home at your age. It's simply unacceptable. Did you know they call women like you parasite singles? It's embarrassing to have someone like you as my sister-in-law. Their mocking words only adding insult to injury. David and Lily's harsh words strike a chord of truth within me. It's undeniably embarrassing. As the one who financially supports my mother's lifestyle, I find solace by retreating to my room whenever they belittle me. While they don't actively seek my company, I can't help but notice their outings with my mother. During these occasions, I hastily prepare and consume my meal before retreating to the sanctuary of my room, where I can work without much interaction with them. Yet the frequency of their visits only seems to increase with time, and each time, my mother treats them to lavish meals. Perusing the credit card statements, I'm taken aback by the frequency of their visits to upscale wine bars and barbecue restaurants. Moreover, I can't ignore the fact that most of the designer clothing they flaunt is purchased by my mother. It's a perplexing situation. My mother showers them with gifts and treats, and they accept it as their entitlement. The disparity between their indulgence and my own frugality weighs heavily on my mind. Finally reaching the end of my patience, I mustered the courage to confront my mother about her excessive indulgence towards David and Lily. Mom, you're spoiling David and Lily too much with all these fancy dinners. They both have jobs. Why don't you let them pitch in sometimes? My words ignited a fiery reaction from my mother, her face flushing with anger. Who do you think you are, telling me how to spend my money? How I treat David and Lily is none of your concern. Have you forgotten the favor of allowing you to live under this roof? Her words struck me like a blow, leaving me stunned by her audacity. It was perplexing how she could disregard all I've done for her, seemingly forgetting my contributions to our household. The only reason I remain in my childhood home is out of respect for the promise I made to my father, not out of any desire to be with her. It appeared that Mother had shared our recent disagreement with David and Lily as they arrived at the house a few days later with stern words. Jessica, it's time to face reality. The only reason you're still here is because of Mom's kindness. How could you betray her like this? People like you are nothing but parasites, Jessica. It's time for you to leave this house. Excuse me, you heard us correctly. We're going to be living here with Mom from now on. So, could you please make arrangements to leave? With a heavy burden weighing on my shoulders, the trio launched into a tirade against me. My patience waned as their words cut deeper. I'm no saint. There's no reason for me to continue being kind to people who treat me like this. It's too late for them to realize the error of their ways. In that moment, a plan for retribution formed in my mind against David, Lily, and Mother. I understand. If my leaving brings you satisfaction, then so be it. The couple's malicious grins only fueled my resolve. Remember your promise. If you're still here when we return, we won't hesitate to evict you. With determination coursing through me, I bid farewell to the house. Let's start anew, Mom. Yes, I'm thrilled. It'll be wonderful living with David and Lily. What a joy it will be. As they gleefully discussed their future, I retreated to my room, immediately setting out to find a new home. Opting for practicality over extravagance, I settled for an affordable apartment near my workplace, prioritizing safety and convenience. With the logistics swiftly arranged, I notified Mother of my impending move. In response, she wasted no time informing David and Lily. A week later, my relocation was complete, and it became clear that Mother's allegiance lay elsewhere. She embarked on a vacation with the couple, only returning in time for David and Lily's move into our family home. Soon after, Mother's voice crackled through the phone, laced with shock and anger. Jessica, what's going on? Where are all the furniture and appliances? Well, I bought them with my own money, so I took them with me, I replied calmly. Don't be absurd. I bought those with my money. Remember, you asked me to replace them, and I did. I paid for everything. Mother's frustration was palpable. You're mistaken. I've been using my own credit card for purchases, I countered. It seemed Mother had conveniently forgotten that the card she used was provided by me. But I let her accusations roll off me, ending the call casually. Eventually, Mother attempted to replace the missing items, only to find the bank account linked to her credit card had been emptied. A few days later, I received a call from David. Mom's credit card isn't working. What's going on? You're behind this, aren't you? David's accusatory tone sliced through the air, revealing his keen intuition. I simply took necessary measures, I replied, trying to frame my actions in a more positive light. His anger simmered beneath his words. You've been footing the bills all this time. Did you realize that every luxury, from fine wines to designer clothes, was funded by the sister you've belittled? So, unknowingly, we've been living off your generosity. David's realization hung heavy in the air. Exactly. How does it feel, David, to know your lifestyle was bankrolled by the sister you ridiculed? You two seem quite proud. Must be a blow to your ego, I remarked, deliberately provoking them. David appeared flustered, struggling to find a retort amidst his frustration. Why the hell would you do this? He finally exclaimed, his irritation palpable. Lily, who had been listening in, interjected with a pointed question. Why didn't you inform us earlier? Mom, does this mean you have no money left? Mother, caught off guard by Lily's accusation, stammered in response. I always assumed there was a substantial inheritance from your father. I'm sorry. While our father did leave behind some inheritance, Mother's extravagant spending habits depleted much of it, leaving little for us. It was this realization that prompted him to advise me to build my own wealth. I trust you'll find a solution. I've only followed your guidance, I asserted. Jessica, wait, we're not finished yet, David protested, but I refused to entertain further discussion, cutting ties with him, Lily and Mother. Ignoring their pleas for reconciliation, I blocked their numbers. Subsequently, I received emails from both Mother and David, each pleading for assistance. Through these messages, a startling revelation emerged. David had resigned from his job under the mistaken assumption that he could live off our presumed family wealth. It was clear that his lavish lifestyle had left him with unrealistic expectations. Currently, they struggle to make ends meet with part-time jobs, their past extravagance now a distant memory. Their constant disputes only serve to underscore the stark contrast between their previous lifestyle and their current reality. Despite their pleas to move in with me, I remained steadfast in my decision to sever ties, choosing to ignore their messages and focus on my own path. Currently, I revel in the tranquility of my solitary existence. I've severed ties with David and Mother, content in the knowledge that I've honored my father's wishes. Focused on my career and financial goals, I am determined to expand my wealth through diligent work and strategic investments. As I steadily build my assets, I also intend to gradually delve into the realms of love and companionship, open to the possibilities of romance and marriage.
The day I found out my parents stole my inheritance, I was standing in their kitchen making coffee like nothing had changed. Paige, honey, we need to talk. Mom's voice had that careful tone she used when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in fake concern. My name is Paige, and I should have known something was wrong when both my parents were home on a Tuesday afternoon, sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread between them like evidence at a crime scene. What's up? I stirred sugar into my mug, still thinking this was about Dad's doctor appointment or Mom's book club drama. It's about Grandma Elizabeth's will, Dad said, not meeting my eyes. We've made a decision about your inheritance. The spoon stopped moving. Made a decision? What do you mean? Mom jumped in, her voice bright and rehearsed. Leah needs help with the house down payment. You know how expensive real estate is these days. We thought it would be better to give her the money now when she really needs it. I set the mug down slowly. Give her what money? Your grandmother's bequest, the 15,000. Dad's words came out in a rush. We transferred it to Leah yesterday. She and Quinn found the perfect place, and they needed to move fast. The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stared at them, waiting for the punchline that never came. You gave away my inheritance without asking me. Now don't be dramatic, Mom said, waving her hand like she was shooing away a fly. It's not like you needed it right now. You have your job, your apartment. Leah has a family to think about. Grandma left that money to me, not to Leah, to me. And we're her parents. Mom shot back, her fake sweetness evaporating. We have every right to make decisions about family finances. Besides, it's just money, Paige. You can always make more. Just money. I felt something crack inside my chest. Where's the paperwork? I want to see what you signed. Dad pushed a folder across the table. My hands shook as I opened it. There it was in black and white, a transfer authorization with both their signatures, moving $15,000 from Elizabeth Wallace's estate account directly to Leah's bank account. This is theft, I whispered. Don't be ridiculous, Mom snapped. We're your parents. We can't steal from you. Grandma specifically left this to me. She wrote a letter explaining why. She wanted me to have something of my own, something secure. My voice was getting louder, but I couldn't stop it. She knew what it was like to depend on other people's charity. Your grandmother was a bitter old woman who filled your head with nonsense, Mom said. This family takes care of each other. Leah needed help, so we helped her. What about me? What if I need help? Dad finally looked up. You're the strong one, Paige. You always land on your feet. Leah's more fragile. Fragile. That was their word for Leah's ability to cry on command and make everyone else responsible for her happiness. I can't believe you did this behind my back. We knew you'd overreact, Mom said. This is exactly why we handled it ourselves. You're being selfish. Selfish? The word came out like a bark. For wanting what was legally mine? For begrudging your sister a chance at happiness, Dad said quietly. She's starting a family, Paige. This house means everything to her. I looked at these two people who raised me, who were supposed to protect me, who had just handed away the only thing my grandmother ever gave me like it was pocket change. Get out, I said. Paige, get out of my apartment. Now. They gathered their papers with wounded expressions, muttering about my attitude and how disappointed Grandma would be in my reaction. Mom paused at the door. When you calm down, you'll see we did the right thing. Family comes first. The door clicked shut behind them. I stood alone in my kitchen, holding Grandma's original will in my trembling hands. Her handwriting was still clear in the margins. For Paige, who understands the value of independence, I read those words over and over until they burned into my memory. Then I folded the will carefully and put it in my purse. They thought I was the strong one who always landed on her feet. They thought $15,000 was just money I could always make more of. Well, I would. 3 weeks later, I walked into Vincenzo Stanley's office with my resignation letter from the accounting firm still warm in my back pocket. You're the girl who called about getting into real estate, he said, not looking up from his computer. His office smelled like expensive cologne and old leather, awards covered every wall, developer of the year, community builder, businessman of excellence. All lies according to the internet forums I'd been reading. I want to learn the business? Fast. He finally looked at me. Vincenzo was the kind of man who wore $1,000 suits to intimidate people, with silver hair slicked back and eyes that calculated your net worth before you finished speaking. Real estate's not a hobby, sweetheart. It's war. Good. I'm ready for war. He laughed, but something in my expression made him stop. What's your story? Divorce? Daddy issues? Family issues. Ah. He leaned back in his chair. Let me guess. Someone screwed you over, and now you want to get rich enough to screw them back. I didn't answer, but my silence was answer enough. I like you already, but wanting revenge and having the stomach for what it takes are two different things. You ever evicted a family at Christmas? No? You ever bought a property out from under someone who's been trying to save it for years? No? You ever looked a crying woman in the eye and told her that her late husband's gambling debts mean she has to sell the house where she raised her kids? My throat felt tight. No. Then you're not ready for war. Come back when you are. I stood up, but I didn't leave. My family stole $15,000 from me, money my grandmother left me specifically. They gave it to my sister for a house down payment and told me I was being selfish for being upset about it. Vincenzo's expression shifted slightly. How long ago? 3 weeks? What did you do about it? Nothing? Yet. He was quiet for a long moment, studying me like I was a property he was considering buying. You have any money to invest? I have 8,000 in savings. That's nothing in this business. Then teach me how to turn nothing into something. He smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Sit down. For the next 4 hours, Vincenzo explained how real estate really worked, not the clean version they taught in licensing classes, but the ugly truth, how to find desperate sellers, how to structure deals that looked fair but weren't, how to use shell companies and legal loopholes, how to make people think selling to you was their idea. The key, he said, pulling up photos of a rundown duplex on his computer, is finding motivated sellers, people who need out fast, divorce, death, debt, the 3 Ds. This place, owner died, kids live out of state, they just want it gone. What's it worth? They're asking 45. It's worth 80 after renovation, but they don't know that. So you're stealing $35,000 from them. I'm solving their problem. They get cash fast. I take the risk and do the work. Everyone wins. Except them. They chose not to do their homework. That's not my fault. I stared at the photos. The house looked like every other house on the block, small, dated, but solid. Someone's home. I want in on this deal. You don't have enough money? I'll get it. That weekend, I liquidated everything: my retirement account, my emergency fund, even my car. I bought a beat up Honda with cash and moved into a studio apartment that smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. When I called Vincenzo on Monday, I had $12,000. It's still not enough for a full partnership, he said. Then make me a junior partner. I'll do the grunt work. 2 months later, we closed on the duplex for $38,000. I spent every weekend there, learning to tile and paint and fix plumbing. My hands were constantly cut and stained. My back ached every morning, but I'd never felt more alive. We sold it for $79,000. My cut was $8,000 profit. In 3 months, I'd nearly doubled my investment. That night, I called my friend Sarah. You sound different, she said. Happier. I am happy. I just made more money in 3 months than I made all last year at the firm. That's amazing. What's the catch? I looked around my tiny apartment, at the real estate books stacked everywhere, at the photos of potential properties taped to my wall. No catch, I'm just finally good at something. But even as I said it, I was thinking about Leah's Instagram post from that morning, her and Quinn in front of their new house, arms around each other, caption reading, "Home sweet home. Dreams do come true. Dreams bought with my money." I opened my laptop and started searching for more properties. 6 years later, I was sitting in my downtown office when Maria Gonzalez started crying. "Please," she said, clutching a tissue. "We just need 3 more months. My husband's disability check got delayed, but it's coming. We've lived in that house for 12 years. I slid the purchase agreement across my mahogany desk. "Mrs. Gonzalez, you're already 4 months behind on payments. The bank's ready to foreclose. I'm offering you a way out that protects your credit. But it's worth so much more than this. Not in its current condition. The foundation needs work, the roof leaks, the electrical is from the 1960s. I'm taking a huge risk." She wiped her eyes. "That house is where I brought my babies home, where my mother died. It's all we have. I understand this is emotional, but business is business." Sarah, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner taking notes, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Maria signed the papers with shaking hands. After she left, Sarah exploded. "Jesus, Paige, that woman was desperate." "Exactly, which is why I could help her." I filed the contract in my cabinet. She gets 60,000 cash and walks away clean. Otherwise, she loses everything to the bank and still owes money. "You're going to flip that house for what, 140? 150 probably, after I put 30,000 into renovations." "So you're making 60,000 profit off her misery." I looked at Sarah, still my friend somehow, despite everything. She'd watched me transform from the girl who cried over stolen inheritance money into someone who could look a crying woman in the eye and not flinch. Her misery isn't my fault. I didn't make her husband get injured. I didn't make them refinance 3 times. I'm just the solution to their problem. You're becoming someone I don't recognize. I'm becoming successful. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. "Vincenzo. Turn on Channel 7, he said without preamble. City Council meeting. They're discussing the Riverside District redevelopment." I grabbed the remote. The news anchor was standing in front of a neighborhood that looked familiar. Tree-lined streets, modest houses, families playing in yards. The proposed redevelopment would transform this aging residential area into a mixed-use commercial and luxury housing district, she was saying. Property values in the area have already begun to rise in anticipation. The camera panned across the street signs. Maple Avenue, Oak Street, and there, clear as day, Birch Lane, Leah's Street. "You seeing this?" Vincenzo's voice crackled through the phone. "I'm seeing it. That whole district's about to explode in value if someone got in early, bought up properties before the announcement became official." "How early?" "I'm hearing 6 months, maybe less, before they start eminent domain proceedings. But smart money's moving now." I was already pulling up property records on my computer. Birch Lane had 18 houses. Most were owner occupied, older couples who'd lived there for decades. Perfect targets. Send me everything you have on that district. Already in your email. Paige, this is big. We're talking generational wealth if we play it right. After I hung up, Sarah was staring at me. What was that about? Business opportunity. In that neighborhood they just showed? Maybe. She was quiet for a long moment. Doesn't your sister live somewhere around there? I kept typing, pulling up tax records and ownership histories. I wouldn't know. We don't keep in touch. Paige. What? Your sister lives on Birch Lane. I've seen her Instagram posts. I finally looked up. Sarah's face was pale. So? So, you're talking about buying up properties in your sister's neighborhood to flip them for profit. I'm talking about a sound business investment. This is insane, even for you. I turned my computer screen toward her. Property values, purchase dates, estimated renovation costs, numbers that made sense, unlike emotions. Look at this objectively. Older homeowners, fixed incomes, rising property taxes. Half these people will want to sell anyway once the redevelopment starts. I'd be helping them get out before the chaos. You'd be destroying their community. I'd be giving them options. Sarah stood up. I can't be part of this. Then don't be. She walked to the door, then turned back. What happened to you? You used to care about people. People stopped caring about me first. After she left, I sat alone in my office, looking at the map of Birch Lane on my screen. 18 houses. I'd need shell companies, different names on the paperwork, careful timing. My phone rang. Leah's name flashed on the screen, the first time she'd called me in 3 years. Paige, I need advice. There's this horrible landlord buying up houses on our street. He's pressuring our neighbors to sell, making lowball offers. Mrs. Patterson next door is scared she'll lose her house. I leaned back in my chair. That's terrible. What does he want the properties for? I don't know. Development, probably. But these are people's homes. What should I tell Mrs. Patterson? Tell her to get a good lawyer. And maybe start looking at her options. Her options? Well, if the offers are that low, maybe she should just make more money. The line went quiet. That's your advice? Make more money? It's practical advice. Leah hung up without saying goodbye. I pulled up the LLC formation documents on my computer and started typing. The first house I bought on Birch Lane belonged to Harold and Betty Morrison, ages 73 and 71. We've been here 42 years, Harold said, leading me through their living room. Family photos covered every surface, grandchildren, holidays, a lifetime of memories. But Betty's arthritis is getting worse, and these stairs. The house has good bones, I said, running my hand along the banister, but it needs updating. New electrical, plumbing, probably a full kitchen renovation. Betty appeared from the kitchen with a tray of cookies. Would you like some tea, dear? You look so young to be in real estate. I started early. I accepted a cookie I didn't want. Your home is lovely, but I can see why you're thinking of downsizing. The property taxes keep going up, Harold said. Fixed income, you know, we're barely keeping up. I pulled out my folder. I can offer you a cash deal, close in 2 weeks. No inspections, no financing contingencies. You could be in a nice condo by Christmas. The number I showed them made Betty gasp. That seems low, Harold said carefully. It's a fair market price for a house that needs significant work. Plus, you save on realtor commissions, staging costs, months of showings. Cash in hand, problem solved. They signed 3 days later. House number 2 was easier. Autumn Whitfield lived alone in a corner lot property, recently divorced, struggling with the mortgage. I can't afford this place on my teacher's salary, she admitted when I knocked on her door. My ex-husband stuck me with the payments. I specialize in helping people in difficult situations, I said. No judgment, just solutions. She invited me in. The house was immaculate, but clearly too big for one person. Photos of her and a man had been removed, leaving pale squares on the walls. How did you know I was thinking of selling? Word gets around. Small neighborhood. You know, my friend Leah lives just down the street. She mentioned someone's been buying houses around here. I kept my expression neutral. It's a nice area, good investment potential. Leah's worried about the neighborhood changing. She loves it here. Change isn't always bad. Sometimes it brings opportunities. Autumn signed that afternoon. By month 3, I owned 6 properties through various LLCs. Vincenzo handled the paperwork, keeping my name buried in corporate filings. The neighbors were getting nervous. "There's a meeting tonight," Vincenzo said, calling me from his car. "Community center. They're organizing against the predatory developers." Should I be worried? Nah, they don't know who they're fighting. Besides, we're not breaking any laws. That evening, I parked across from the community center and watched through my windshield. Familiar faces filed in, Harold and Betty looking confused and regretful, Autumn clutching a folder of papers, and there, walking up the front steps with a man I recognized from Instagram photos, was Leah. My phone rang. "Paige?" Leah's voice was tight with stress. "I'm sorry to bother you again, but this situation on our street is getting crazy." "What's happening now?" "6 families have sold in 3 months. All cash offers, all to different companies. But Quinn thinks they're connected somehow. The same lawyer keeps showing up at closings." I watched her through the community center windows, pacing as she talked. "That does sound suspicious. Mrs. Patterson got an offer today. She's scared, but she's also tempted. The property taxes are killing her." "Maybe she should take it." "Paige, these are people's homes. This isn't just about money." "Everything's about money, Leah. The sooner people accept that, the better off they'll be." God, you sound just like mom and dad. It's just money, Paige. You can always make more. The irony hit me like a physical blow. She had no idea. "I have to go," I said. "Wait, I wanted to ask, do you know any good lawyers? Someone who specializes in real estate fraud?" Through the window, I could see her talking to a woman with short gray hair who was pointing at a map on the wall. "Why would you need a lawyer?" "Because whoever's doing this is going to come for our house eventually. And when they do, I want to be ready to fight." "What if they offered you enough money to buy something better?" "This is our home, Paige. Quinn and I saved for years for this house. We're not selling." After she hung up, I sat in my car watching the meeting. Angry voices carried through the windows. Someone had drawn a map showing which houses had been sold, with red X's marking the properties. It looked like a battle plan. My phone buzzed with a text from Vincenzo. "Patterson signed. That's 7 down, 11 to go." I started the engine and drove away, but not before I saw Leah through the window, standing at the front of the room, pointing at the map and talking animatedly to the crowd. She was organizing them. My little sister, who'd never fought for anything in her life, was finally learning to fight. Too bad she had no idea who she was fighting against. The confrontation I'd been dreading happened on a Tuesday morning when Autumn showed up at my office. "You're her, aren't you?" she said, standing in my doorway with a manila folder clutched against her chest. "You're the one buying up Birch Lane." My assistant had already left for lunch. We were alone. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Riverside Development Holdings, Mountain View Properties, LLC, Pacific Coast Investments." She opened the folder and spread papers across my desk. 3 different companies, same registered agent, same lawyer, all connected to Wallace Enterprises. I looked at the documents. Someone had done their homework. "That's a common name." "Cut the crap, Paige. I know it's you." I leaned back in my chair. "Prove it." "I don't have to prove it. I just have to tell Leah." "Tell her what? That her sister is a successful businesswoman?" Autumn's face flushed red. "That her sister is destroying our neighborhood. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mrs. Patterson is living with her daughter now because she can't afford anywhere else. The Morrisons are in a retirement home they hate because it's all they could afford after you lowballed them. I gave them market value for houses that needed significant work. You gave them half what those houses are worth, and you know it." I stood up and walked to my window. 12 floors below, the city sprawled out like a game board. "Business is business, Autumn. I didn't force anyone to sell. You preyed on desperate people. I solved their problems. They needed cash. I provided it. And now you're coming for the rest of us." I turned around. "Are you wearing a wire?" "What?" This conversation feels very rehearsed. Did Leah send you here to get me to confess something? "Leah doesn't know I'm here. She still thinks you're just her cold, successful sister who doesn't care about family." "Smart girl." Autumn stared at me. "What happened to you?" Leah showed me pictures from when you were kids. You used to smile. "I grew up." "You became a monster." I walked back to my desk and gathered up her papers. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take these documents and leave. You're not going to call Leah. You're not going to call the news. You're not going to call anyone." Or what? I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a check. Or I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. The check was for twice what her house was worth. Autumn looked at it, then at me. You think you can buy my silence? I think you're a single teacher with a mortgage you can barely afford. This money would change your life by destroying other people's lives, by accepting reality. This neighborhood is changing whether I'm involved or not. The city council already approved the redevelopment. I'm just getting ahead of the curve. She picked up the check, stared at it for a long moment, then tore it in half. Go to hell, Paige. After she left, I called Vincenzo. We have a problem. Someone's connected the LLCs. How bad? Bad enough. They know it's me. Shit. Legal exposure? Not yet, but they're organizing. We need to move faster. I can have offers on the remaining properties by Friday. Do it. That evening, my parents called. Paige, honey. Mom's voice was strained. We got a strange call today. Someone asking about our house, wanting to know if we'd consider selling. Okay. The thing is, we're not looking to sell. But the man said property values in our area are about to skyrocket because of some development project. I gripped the phone tighter. What did you tell him? We told him we weren't interested, but Lance is curious about what our house might be worth. Dad's there? I'm here. Dad's voice came through the speaker. This caller mentioned the company name was something like Mountain View Properties. Isn't that similar to your business name? My heart stopped. Not really. Huh. Well, anyway, we were wondering if you knew anything about development plans for our area. I don't keep track of every project in the city, Dad. Of course not. It's just Leah lives nearby, and she's been worried about some company buying up houses on her street. We thought maybe you'd heard something through your business contacts. I haven't heard anything. Well, if you do, let us know. Leah's really stressed about it. She thinks someone's trying to force them out of their home. After I hung up, I poured myself a drink and stood at my window again. The city lights stretched out below me, each one representing someone's life, someone's dreams, someone's problems. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing. We need to talk. Leah. She knew. I poured another drink and waited for her call. It came 20 minutes later. You bought Autumn's house, she said without preamble. She told me everything. Leah, how could you do this to us? To me? I'm not doing anything to you. You're destroying my neighborhood. My friends are gone. My neighbors are scared. And now I find out my own sister is behind it all. It's just business. It's my life page, my home, my family. Like I said, just business. The line went quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. We're coming to see you tomorrow, she finally said. All of us. Mom, Dad, Quinn, me. We're going to figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. There has to be. You're still my sister. Am I? Because I seem to remember you taking something that belonged to me and never looking back. That was different. Was it? She hung up. I finished my drink and called Vincenzo. Speed up the timeline. I want offers on every remaining property by tomorrow morning. Even your sisters? Especially my sisters. They came as a united front. Mom, Dad, Leah, and Quinn marching into my office like they were storming a castle. Sit down, I said, not looking up from my computer. We'll stand, Leah snapped. This won't take long. I finally looked at them. Mom's face was pale. Dad kept fidgeting with his wedding ring. Quinn looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, and Leah looked ready for war. You bought 11 houses on my street, she said. 11, including the Pattersons, the Morrisons, Autumns, people I've known for years. Congratulations on your detective work. How could you do this to your own family? Mom's voice cracked. To your own sister? I leaned back in my chair. Funny. I was wondering the same thing about 7 years ago. This is completely different, Dad said. Is it? You took something that belonged to me and gave it to her. Now I'm taking something that belongs to her. Those people's homes aren't the same as money, Quinn spoke up for the first time. You're destroying lives. I'm conducting business, legal, profitable business. Leah slammed her hands on my desk. Stop hiding behind that corporate bullshit. This is personal and you know it. You're right, it is personal. The admission hung in the air like smoke. So this is revenge? Mom whispered. All of this is because we helped Leah with her house. You didn't help Leah. You stole from me. We made a family decision. You made a decision that showed me exactly where I stood in this family. Dead last. Dad stepped forward. Paige, we know we hurt you. We should have handled it differently, but this, he gestured around my office. This isn't the answer. Actually, it's the perfect answer. You taught me that family doesn't matter when money's involved. I'm just applying that lesson. We were wrong, Mom said, tears starting to flow. We were wrong, okay? We should have asked you first. We should have respected your grandmother's wishes. Now you tell me. We're telling you now, Leah shouted. We're here, admitting we screwed up, asking you to stop this insanity. 7 years too late. Quinn pulled out a folder. We brought this. He set it on my desk, a cashier's check for $15,000. The original amount with interest, 7% compounded annually. It comes to about 22,000. I looked at the check without touching it. What's this supposed to be? Payment, Leah said. We're paying you back with interest. Now stop destroying our neighborhood. You think this is about $15,000? Isn't it? I laughed, and the sound was harsh even to my own ears. Leah, I made more than that last week. This stopped being about the money a long time ago. Then what is it about? Dad asked. It's about consequences. It's about learning that actions have reactions. It's about discovering what happens when you treat someone like they don't matter. Mom was crying harder now. We never said you didn't matter. You didn't have to say it, you showed me. So, you're going to destroy Leah's life to prove a point? Quinn's voice was getting louder. I'm going to give her the same consideration she gave me. None. Leah's face was red with fury. I was 21 years old. I was getting married, trying to buy my first house. I didn't even know about Grandma's will until after Mom and Dad transferred the money. But you kept it? Because they said it was okay, because they said you didn't need it. And you never thought to ask me yourself? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. I was young and stupid, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't undo 7 years of silence. Sorry doesn't give me back what you took. What we took was money, Dad said desperately. What you're taking is everything. Our daughter's home, her community, her sense of security. Her sense of security? I stood up. Do you know what it feels like to realize your own family sees you as expendable? To know that when push comes to shove, you're the one they'll sacrifice? We never meant. You meant exactly what you did. You chose her over me. You chose her happiness over my rights. You chose her future over my inheritance. Mom collapsed into a chair. What do you want from us? What will make this stop? I looked at each of them. These people who raised me, who were supposed to love me, who had taught me that family was conditional. I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to know what it's like to lose something precious and have the people who should protect you tell you it doesn't matter. Please, Leah whispered. I have kids now. Quinn and we have 2 little girls. This is their home. It was just money, Leah. You can always make more. The words hit her like a slap. She staggered backward. Those were your exact words to me, I continued, when I called you crying about what Mom and Dad had done. It's just money, Paige. You can always make more. I didn't mean. You meant it then. I mean it now. Quinn stepped between us. You're going to make children homeless to settle a score? I'm going to treat your family the way your family treated me, with complete indifference. They left without another word, except for Mom, who turned back at the door. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. My grandmother would understand perfectly. She knew what it was like to depend on family and be disappointed. After they were gone, I sat alone in my office, staring at the cashier's check they'd left behind. $22,000. I tore it into pieces and threw it in the trash. The bulldozers arrived on a Thursday morning at 7 a.m. sharp. I watched from my penthouse balcony through binoculars as the first machine rolled down Birch Lane. The demolition crew had cordoned off the street with orange cones and warning signs. Most of the houses stood empty now. I owned 14 of the 18 properties. My phone started ringing immediately. They're tearing down the Morrisons' house. Leah's voice was hysterical. There are bulldozers everywhere. What did you do? I'm developing the properties I own. You can't just demolish an entire neighborhood. Actually, I can. I have all the permits. Through the binoculars, I could see her standing in her front yard in pajamas and a robe, holding her phone. Her two little girls were pressed against the window, watching the destruction. There are families still living here. 4 families. You'll get 60 days' notice before we reach your section of the street. 60 days? Paige, we can't find anywhere else to live in 60 days. Do you know what the rental market is like right now? The first house came down with a thunderous crash. 42 years of the Morrisons' life reduced to rubble in 30 seconds. That's not my problem. It's your fault. No, Leah, it's yours. I hung up and went inside to make coffee. The local news was already covering the story. Residents of the historic Birch Lane neighborhood woke up to bulldozers this morning, the reporter was saying. The controversial redevelopment project has displaced dozens of longtime residents, many elderly homeowners who say they were pressured into selling below market value. They interviewed Mrs. Patterson, who was crying outside the retirement home where she now lived. I didn't want to sell, she said. But they kept calling, kept pressuring me, said the whole neighborhood was changing anyway. I had nowhere else to go. My phone rang again. Vincenzo. You watching the news? I'm watching. This is bad PR. Maybe we should slow down, let the heat die down. No. We stick to the schedule. Paige, they're making us look like monsters. They can make us look however they want. We're not breaking any laws. The city council's getting pressure to investigate. Someone's claiming fraud, elder abuse. I muted the TV. Let them investigate. Our paperwork is clean. What about your family? This is going to destroy your relationship with them forever. It was already destroyed. By noon, protesters had gathered at the demolition site. I could see them through my binoculars, about 30 people holding signs that read, "Stop Corporate Greed" and "Homes Not Profits." Leah was in the center of them, talking to reporters. Sarah showed up at my office that afternoon without an appointment. I saw the news, she said, closing the door behind her. Please tell me you're not really doing this. I'm developing real estate. It's what I do. You're making children homeless, Paige. Your own nieces. They have 60 days to find somewhere else. Sarah sat down across from my desk. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. Do you remember when we were in college and your grandmother got sick? You spent every weekend at the hospital with her. You held her hand while she died. What's your point? My point is, that woman loved you. She left you that money because she wanted you to have security, not because she wanted you to become this. Become what? A person who destroys families for sport. I turned back to my computer. I'm busy, Sarah. She's your sister. She stopped being my sister 7 years ago. That's not true, and you know it. I looked at her. When's the last time Leah called me? Before this mess started? Sarah was quiet. When's the last time she invited me to Christmas dinner? Or her kids' birthday parties? Or asked how I was doing? That goes both ways. I tried. For 2 years after the inheritance thing. I tried. I called. I texted. I showed up to family events. And every time I got the same message. I was the bitter sister who couldn't let things go. I was the problem. So you decided to prove them right? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo of Leah's daughters crying as they watched their neighbor's house get demolished. They made their choice, I said, deleting the photo. Now they get to live with it. Sarah stood up. I can't watch you do this anymore. Then don't. After she left, I pulled up the live feed from the demolition site on my computer. House after house coming down, years of memories turned to dust and debris. The protesters were still there, but smaller now. The news crews had moved on to other stories. My phone rang one more time. Quinn, Paige, please, I'm begging you. Not for Leah, not for your parents, for Emma and Sophie. They're 5 and 7 years old. They don't understand why their house has to go away. Through my computer screen, I could see him standing at the edge of the demolition zone, phone pressed to his ear. Children adapt, I said. You're destroying innocent kids to hurt their mother. I'm treating them exactly how my family treated me, like they don't matter. They're babies, Paige. I was someone's baby, too. I hung up and closed the laptop. The demolition would reach their house in 58 days. The letter was waiting on my desk when I got back from watching Leah's house come down. My assistant had left it on top of my mail with a note. This was in the box of your grandmother's things that your parents dropped off. Thought you should see it. The envelope was yellowed with age, my name written in Grandma Elizabeth's careful handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper dated 3 days before she died. My dearest Paige, if you're reading this, it means the worst has happened. My family has let me down, and more importantly, they've let you down. I've seen the signs. Your mother's favoritism, your father's weakness, Leah's selfishness. I pray I'm wrong, but I fear I'm not. I know what it's like to be the strong one, the one everyone expects to handle disappointment gracefully. I know what it's like to be told your feelings don't matter because you're practical and resilient. I spent 40 years married to a man who treated me like an afterthought, and I let bitterness poison the best parts of my life. Don't make my mistakes, sweetheart. Don't let their failures turn you into someone you won't recognize in the mirror. The money I left you was meant to give you freedom, not fund your revenge. Love them anyway, not because they deserve it, but because you do. All my love, Grandma. I read it 3 times, then set it down with shaking hands. My phone was ringing. Vincenzo. It's done, he said. Birch Lane is clear. Demo crews will finish cleanup tomorrow, then we can start construction. Through my window, I could see smoke rising from the demolition site 12 miles away. Good. You sound weird. You okay? I'm fine. Listen, there's been some fallout. Your sister's husband filed for divorce. Apparently, the stress of losing the house, having to move the kids twice in 2 months, it broke them up. I closed my eyes. Okay. And your parents are selling their house, moving to some retirement community in Arizona. Your mom called my office crying, asking if we'd give them a fair price. Did you? I told them we weren't interested in their neighborhood. But Paige, your dad's in the hospital, had some kind of breakdown, stress related from what I hear. The letter sat on my desk like an accusation. Vincenzo, I need to ask you something. Shoot. When you started in this business, did you ever have a line you wouldn't cross? He was quiet for a moment. Why? Just answer the question. Yeah, I had lines. Then I crossed them, one by one, until I couldn't remember where they used to be. Do you regret it? I regret a lot of things, but regret doesn't pay the bills. After I hung up, I sat alone in my office as the sun set over the city. My empire spread out below me, dozens of properties, millions in assets, more money than I could spend in a lifetime. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Leah's number. She answered on the first ring. What do you want now? Her voice was hollow, exhausted. Where are you living? A motel. The Sunset Inn on Highway 9, room 247. The girls have to share a bed, and the walls are so thin they can't sleep. Emma keeps asking when we can go home. And Quinn? Gone. He said he couldn't handle the stress anymore. Said I brought this on us by having you for a sister. I stared at Grandma's letter. Don't let their failures turn you into someone you won't recognize in the mirror. Leah. What? I'm sorry. The line went quiet. What did you say? I said I'm sorry. For all of it. For destroying your life to prove a point. She started crying, deep, broken sobs that cut through me like glass. I can't undo what I did, I continued, but I can try to fix it. How? I pulled up my computer and started typing. I'm transferring ownership of lot 247 on Birch Lane back to you. No charge. It's the lot where your house used to be. There's no house there anymore. There will be. I'm also setting up a construction account with enough money to rebuild exactly what you lost. Same floor plan, same everything. Why? I looked at the letter again. Love them anyway. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because Grandma was right, I became someone I don't recognize. This doesn't fix everything, Paige. Quinn's still gone. The girls are traumatized. Our neighbors are scattered across 3 counties. I know, but it's a start. What about Mom and Dad? I'll call them next. And the other families, the Pattersons, the Morrisons, everyone else you displaced? I pulled up my property management software and started making notes. I'll figure something out. Why now? Why change your mind now? I folded Grandma's letter and put it in my wallet. Because I finally got what I wanted. I made you feel exactly what I felt 7 years ago, and it turns out revenge tastes like ashes. I never meant to hurt you back then. I know. And I meant to hurt you now. That makes me worse, not better. We were both quiet for a long moment. The girls ask about their Aunt Paige sometimes, she said finally. They remember you from when they were little. Maybe I could see them sometime. When you're ready. Maybe. After we hung up, I sat in my empty office, surrounded by the trophies of my success. I'd won everything I thought I wanted and lost everything that actually mattered. I picked up my phone and started making calls. I gave them what they gave me. Interest paid in full. Now it was time to figure out what came next.
The words terminal cancer have a funny way of making everything else sound like white noise. My name is Abigail, and I'm 32 years old. 3 hours ago, I was just another woman sitting in a sterile oncologist's office, picking at my cuticles and wondering if the receptionist's fake smile was part of her job training. Now I'm staring at my phone, trying to figure out how to tell my family that I'm dying. The call to Mum goes exactly how you'd expect. "Abby, honey, you sound strange. What's wrong?" "Mum, I need to tell you something. I just came from Dr. Martinez's office and—" "Oh my God!" Her voice drops to that theatrical whisper she uses when she wants to sound concerned, but also wants the neighbours to hear. "What did he say?" "It's cancer, Mum. Stage 4. He's giving me maybe 6 months." The silence stretches so long, I check to see if the call dropped. Then I hear her sharp intake of breath, followed by what sounds like her sitting down hard. "Cancer? But you're so young. Are you sure? Did you get a second opinion?" "I'm sure, Mum." "Oh, sweetheart." Now she's crying, and part of me feels guilty for being so blunt. "We need to get you the best doctors, the best treatment. Money is no object." There it is. 3 minutes into the worst news of my life, and we're already talking about money. "I'm going to call your father right now, and Ella, we're coming over." "Mum, you don't have to—" "Don't be ridiculous. Family sticks together. We're going to take care of you." She hangs up before I can respond, and I'm left staring at my phone in the parking lot of the medical building, wondering why her promise of care feels more like a threat. They arrive within the hour, armed with tissues and takeout from my favourite Thai place. Dad gives me one of his awkward side hugs, the kind where he pats my shoulder twice and steps back like I might be contagious. Ella, my younger sister, immediately starts crying harder than I did when I got the news. "This is so unfair," she sobs, mascara streaming down her cheeks. "You're the good one. You're the one who always does everything right." I want to point out that being good apparently doesn't make you immune to cancer, but I just hand her another tissue. "What are the treatment options?" Dad asks, settling into my kitchen chair like he's preparing for a business meeting. "There are some experimental trials, but they're expensive. Insurance won't cover most of it." Mum and Dad exchange one of those looks, the kind married couple's perfect after decades together. It lasts maybe 2 seconds, but I catch it. "How expensive?" Mum asks. "Potentially hundreds of thousands?" Another look. This one longer. "Well," Mum says, smoothing her hair, "we'll figure it out. That's what families do. But first, we need to make sure all your affairs are in order." "My affairs?" "Legal stuff, honey. Power of attorney, medical directives, just in case." Ella looks up from her tissue pile. "Mum's right. What if you can't make decisions for yourself? What if you're too sick?" The conversation shifts into practical mode so fast it makes my head spin. Suddenly we're talking about wills and bank accounts and who should have access to what. They make it sound so reasonable, so loving, just family looking out for family. "I don't know," I say. It feels premature. "Abby," Dad says in his gentle but firm voice, the one he used when I was 16 and wanted to go to that party. "This isn't about giving up hope. This is about being smart, being prepared. Think about it this way," Ella adds, reaching for my hand. "If something happens and we can't help you because of legal red tape, how awful would that be?" They stay for 3 more hours, and by the time they leave, I've agreed to meet with their lawyer tomorrow. They hug me extra tight at the door, and Mum whispers, "We're going to make sure you have the most beautiful last Christmas, sweetheart, whatever it takes." After they're gone, I pour myself a glass of wine and sit on my couch, trying to process everything. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. Already called the lawyer, 10 a.m. tomorrow, love you so much. I'm about to respond when I hear her voice through my thin apartment walls. She must be on the phone in the hallway. I know, it's terrible. But Linda, you should see the kitchen in that house we looked at last month. The marble countertops alone would be worth it. And with the insurance money... Her voice fades as she walks away, but the words hang in the air like smoke. Insurance money. I set down my wine and stare at the wall, wondering if I heard what I think I heard. The lawyer's office smells like leather and false promises. This is really just a formality, Mum says, squeezing my hand as we sit across from Mr. Henderson, a man whose smile is as polished as his mahogany desk. We want to make sure you're protected. The power of attorney documents are already printed and waiting. Henderson slides them across the desk like he's dealing cards. Standard stuff, he says. Medical decisions, financial management, property oversight. Your parents will be able to handle everything if you become incapacitated. What exactly does financial management include, I ask. Access to accounts, investment decisions, bill paying. Essentially, they can act on your behalf in all monetary matters. Dad clears his throat. We've already discussed this, Abby. We're not going to touch anything unless it's absolutely necessary. I sign the papers. What choice do I have? 2 weeks later, I'm standing in what used to be my parents' modest kitchen, watching contractors rip out perfectly good cabinets. Surprise! Mom beams, gesturing at the chaos. We decided to finally do the renovation we've been talking about for years. Now? I ask, dodging a worker carrying a sledgehammer. Well, we figured with everything going on, we should make the house perfect for when you come stay with us during treatment. Ella appears from the living room holding fabric samples. Wait until you see the marble we picked out. It's imported from Italy. Italian marble? Only the best for our girl, Dad says, but he won't meet my eyes. I watch them for the next hour, discussing crown moulding and wine fridges with the enthusiasm of people who just won the lottery. When I mention that I should probably start looking into those experimental treatments, Mum waves me off. Don't worry about that right now, honey. Let's focus on making you comfortable first. 3 days later, I'm on the phone with my bank. I'm sorry, Mum, but your savings account shows a balance of $47. That's impossible. I had over $200,000 in that account. Let me check. Yes, there were several large withdrawals over the past 2 weeks, all authorised by your power of attorney holders. My hands shake as I hang up. I call Mum immediately. Oh, sweetheart, don't worry about that. We moved the money to better investments. You know how terrible savings account interest rates are. What investments? The house renovation for one. Think of it as improving your inheritance, and we put some aside for your medical expenses. How much? A pause. Well, the kitchen alone was $80,000, but it's going to be gorgeous. And we got you that adjustable bed for the guest room, the good kind, with the massage feature. Mum, I need that money for treatment. Honey, we researched those experimental treatments. They're basically scams. Dr. Martinez said the standard treatment is just as good. Dr. Martinez said the standard treatment would buy me maybe a few extra months. A few months is still time, Abby, time we can spend together as a family. I hang up and immediately call the treatment centre in Arizona. The receptionist's voice is kind but firm. I'm sorry, but we require payment up front. The program costs $150,000. I had the money. My family has access to my accounts. Would you like me to hold your spot for a few days while you sort it out? Yes, please. That evening, I drive to my parents' house. The kitchen is a war zone of exposed pipes and drywall dust, but I can see the beginnings of something that belongs in a magazine spread. Isn't it beautiful? Mum asks, running her hand along a piece of marble that probably cost more than my car. Mum, I need you to transfer money back to my account for the treatment. Oh, honey. She exchanges that look with Dad again. We can't just undo everything now. The contractors have already been paid. Not all of it, just enough for the treatment. Ella walks in, carrying shopping bags from high-end stores. What treatment? The experimental one in Arizona. Abby, Ella says, setting down her bags, you need to be realistic. You're going to die anyway. What's the point of throwing money at some desperate last-ditch effort? The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward. What did you just say? I mean, wouldn't you rather spend your last months here with us in a beautiful space? We're creating memories. With my money. It's not like you're going to need it, she continues, pulling a designer dress from one of her bags. At least this way, it's going to something meaningful, something that will last. Dad finally speaks up. Girls, let's not fight. I'm not fighting, I say, my voice eerily calm. I'm just trying to understand how my death became a home improvement opportunity. That's not fair, Mom says, tears starting. Everything we're doing is for you. The Italian marble is for me? The house will be your legacy, Abby, something beautiful to remember you by. I look around at the destruction and renovation, at my family's excited faces, at the shopping bags full of things they bought with my money while I'm supposed to be dying. I need some air, I say. Outside, I sit in my car and call the treatment centre back. I'm sorry, I tell the receptionist. I won't be able to make the payment. I understand. I'm sorry. As I hang up, I see Ella through the window, modelling her new dress for Mum and Dad. They're all laughing, surrounded by the ruins of their old kitchen and the promise of their new one, built with my death money. The first friend I call is Sarah from college. Oh my God, Abby, I'm so sorry. I've been meaning to reach out, but I just don't know what to say in these situations, you know? I was hoping maybe we could grab coffee sometime. I could really use... Actually, I'm super busy with the new baby and work is crazy, but I'll definitely call you soon, okay? She doesn't call. Next is Marcus from my old job. The conversation lasts exactly 90 seconds before he remembers he has a dentist appointment he absolutely cannot miss. By the fourth call, I stop pretending I'm surprised. Terminal illness is apparently contagious in the social sense. People scatter like roaches when the lights come on. The only person who answers and actually wants to talk is Paige, my neighbour from 2 apartments down. Are you kidding me? She says when I tell her about my family's renovation project. They spent your treatment money on a kitchen? Italian marble, I say, stirring my coffee. We're sitting in her living room, which is cluttered but warm, the opposite of my parents' sterile showcase. That's not family, Abby, that's vultures. They keep saying it's for me, for my legacy. Your legacy should be you being alive. I laugh, but it comes out bitter. Try telling them that. Paige leans forward. What if there were other options? Other ways to get treatment? Like what? Rob a bank? Clinical trials, charity programs. There are foundations that help people in situations like yours. I looked into some of that. The waiting lists are years long, and most require you to exhaust all other financial options first. What about the ones that don't? That night, Paige comes over with her laptop and a bottle of wine. We spend hours scrolling through medical websites and foundation pages. Look at this one, she says, pointing to the screen. The Morrison Foundation. They fund experimental treatments for people who've been denied by insurance. Says here they only accept 20 patients per year. So apply. What's the worst that could happen? They could say no. They're already saying no by not knowing you exist. We fill out the application together. It's extensive, medical records, financial statements, personal essays. The financial part is embarrassing. I have to explain how I went from having a substantial savings account to being broke in 2 weeks. Your family really did a number on you, Paige says, reading over my shoulder. They think they're helping. They think they're helping themselves. 3 days later, I get a call from Mum. Abby, honey, we need to talk. Can you come over? The kitchen renovation is nearly complete. The marble countertops gleam under expensive pendant lights, and the new appliances look like they belong in a restaurant. It's beautiful, isn't it? Mum says, running her hand along the island. It's something. We have some exciting news. Ella found this amazing resort in Cabo. We thought it would be perfect for a family trip. One last vacation together. Ella bounces on her toes. It's all-inclusive, spa treatments, private beach, the works. How much? I ask. Don't worry about that, Dad says quickly. How much? 15,000, but it's for all of us, and it includes everything. 15,000 of my money. Abby, Mum's voice takes on that patient tone she uses when she thinks I'm being unreasonable. This is about making memories, about spending quality time together while we still can. While I still can, you mean? Don't be morbid. I'm not being morbid, I'm being realistic. That 15,000 could go toward treatment. What treatment? Ella asks. You said yourself you couldn't afford the experimental stuff. I'm looking into other options. Like what? Charity programs, clinical trials. Mum and Dad exchange another one of their looks. Honey, Mum says gently, those programs are for people who really can't afford treatment. We don't want to take resources away from people who actually need them. I actually need them. You have family support. That's more than most people have. Family support that spent my treatment money on countertops. That's not fair, Ella snaps. We're trying to make your last month special. By bankrupting me? You're being dramatic. The argument escalates until I'm shouting and they're crying, and nothing gets resolved except that I storm out and they book the Cabo trip anyway. 2 weeks later, I get a rejection letter from the Morrison Foundation. Standard form letter, probably sent to hundreds of people. I'm crumpling it up when my phone rings. Unknown number. Is this Abigail? Yes. My name is Dr. Patricia Williams. I work with the Morrison Foundation. We received your application. I got the rejection letter. That was a mistake. We'd like to discuss your case further. Are you available to talk? I sit down hard on my couch. Yes, I'm available. Good. There's someone who specifically requested to review your file. Someone who knows your family situation. Can you meet tomorrow? Who requested it? I think it's better if she explains that herself. Can you come to our office at 10 a.m? After I hang up, I stare at the rejection letter in my hand. Someone knows my family situation. Someone specifically requested my file. I call Paige. Someone's watching out for you, she says, after I tell her about the call. But who? Guess you'll find out tomorrow. The Morrison Foundation office is nothing like I expected. Instead of sterile medical building vibes, it's housed in a converted Victorian home with comfortable chairs and actual artwork on the walls. Dr. Williams is a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a firm handshake. Thank you for coming, Abigail. Please sit down. You said someone specifically requested my file? Yes, but first let me explain what we do here. We provide funding for experimental treatments that show promise, but aren't covered by traditional insurance. We also help patients relocate temporarily for treatment when necessary. Relocate? Sometimes the best treatment centres are far from home. We provide housing, living expenses, complete support systems. She slides a folder across the desk. This particular program is in Seattle. Cutting-edge immunotherapy. The success rates are encouraging. I open the folder. The treatment plan is comprehensive, aggressive, and expensive. Very expensive. Who's funding this? An anonymous donor. Someone who specifically requested that we reach out to you. I don't understand. Dr. Williams leans forward. Abigail, this donor knows about your family situation. They know about the power of attorney issues and the financial complications. They want to help. But who? I can't reveal their identity, but I can tell you that they've covered everything. Treatment, housing, living expenses for up to 2 years. All you have to do is say yes. I stare at the papers. 2 years of life, maybe more. A real chance. There's one condition, Dr. Williams continues. For the treatment to be most effective, you need to minimize stress. That means limited contact with people who might complicate your recovery. You mean my family? I mean anyone who might interfere with your healing process. I think about Mum's latest text, asking when I want to leave for Cabo, about Ella's Instagram posts showing off the new kitchen, about Dad's silence every time I bring up treatment options. When would I start? Next week if you're ready. I sign the papers. The hardest part is lying to Paige, but Dr. Williams insists that the fewer people who know my real location, the better. I'm going to stay with my cousin in Portland for a while, I tell her as she helps me pack. Get some space from my family. Good for you. They've been toxic through this whole thing. Will you keep an eye on things here? Maybe check my mail? Of course. But Abby, promise me you'll stay in touch. I promise. The treatment centre in Seattle is everything Dr. Williams promised. The staff is incredible, the facility is state-of-the-art, and my apartment is small but comfortable. For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. The treatment itself is brutal. The immunotherapy makes me sicker than I've ever been, but Dr. Rodriguez, my oncologist, says that's a good sign. Your immune system is waking up, she explains during one of my better days. It's learning to fight. Meanwhile, my family's social media tells a different story. Mum posts pictures of their Cabo vacation with captions like "making memories while we still can" and "family is everything." Ella shares photos of herself in designer swimwear with hashtags like "new family first" and "blessed." The comments are nauseating. Friends and neighbours offering prayers and support for their difficult time. People praising them for staying strong and making the best of a tragic situation. Not one person asks where I am. After 3 months of treatment, my scans show improvement. Not a miracle, but real, measurable progress. Dr. Rodriguez is cautiously optimistic. We're going to continue the protocol, she says. Your body is responding well. That night, I'm checking my email when I see a message from an address I don't recognise. The subject line reads, "Unfinished business." I almost delete it, thinking it's spam, but something makes me click. Abigail, I hope this finds you well and recovering. I know you don't know me, but I know you. I know what our family did to you, and I want to help make it right. I've been away for a long time, but I'm coming home soon. We have a lot to discuss. Aunt Jacqueline. I stare at the screen. Aunt Jacqueline, Mum's older sister, the one who disappeared from family gatherings when I was a teenager, the one whose name makes Mum's face go tight whenever someone mentions her. I type back quickly, "How did you find me?" The response comes within minutes. "I've been keeping track of things, more than you know. Are you somewhere safe?" "Yes." "Good. Stay there. I'll be in touch soon. And Abigail, don't tell anyone about this email. Not yet." I close the laptop and sit back in my chair. Outside my window, Seattle's skyline glitters in the evening light. For months I felt completely alone, abandoned by everyone who was supposed to care about me. But someone has been watching, someone has been helping, and now someone wants to settle accounts. I think about my family, probably posting more vacation photos right now, spending my money and playing the grieving relatives for social media sympathy. They have no idea what's coming. Jacqueline looks nothing like I remember. The woman sitting across from me in the Seattle coffee shop is polished, professional, wearing a tailored blazer and carrying a leather briefcase that screams federal government. The last time I saw her, she was storming out of Christmas dinner after a screaming match with Mum about family loyalty. "You look good, Abby, healthier than your family thinks." "How do you know what my family thinks?" She opens her briefcase and pulls out a tablet. "Because I've been monitoring their communications for the past 6 months. "Monitoring?" "I'm a senior investigator for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. White-collar crime, specifically elder abuse and financial exploitation." She slides the tablet toward me. "Your case landed on my desk through the Morrison Foundation's fraud alert system." The screen shows a detailed timeline of my bank transactions, starting from the day I signed the power of attorney. $80,000 for kitchen renovation, $15,000 for a Cabo vacation, $12,000 for what appears to be a shopping spree, $25,000 for a down payment on a new car for Ella. Jacqueline scrolls through the list. "All withdrawn within weeks of gaining access to your accounts." They said it was for my care. A massage bed that cost $3,000 hardly qualifies as medical care. I study the timeline. Seeing it all laid out like this, the pattern is obvious. This is why you funded my treatment. The Morrison Foundation has a discretionary fund for cases involving financial abuse. When I saw your application and realised you were my niece, I made some calls. Why didn't you contact me sooner? Jacqueline's expression hardens. Because I needed evidence, solid, prosecutable evidence, and because I needed you safe and away from them while I built the case. She opens another file on the tablet. This is where it gets interesting. 3 weeks ago, your mother attempted to liquidate your remaining investment account, the one they haven't touched yet. I have another account. Your grandmother's trust fund. It's been sitting there since you turned 30, gaining interest, about $40,000. Mum tried to access it. She forged your signature on the withdrawal forms, badly. The bank flagged it as suspicious and contacted my office. I stare at the forged signature. It's clearly Mum's handwriting, but she tried to make it look like mine. That's a federal crime, Jacqueline continues. Wire fraud, forgery, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. We're talking serious jail time. What do you want me to do? I want you to help me finish building this case, but more than that, I want to give you the chance to confront them, on your terms. She shows me another document. Your family has been telling everyone you're dying, posting about it constantly, accepting sympathy, and even some donations from your community. But here's the thing. They haven't actually checked on you in months. They think I'm in Portland with my cousin. They think you're dying in Portland with your cousin. Your mother has been planning your funeral. The words hit like ice water. What? She's been meeting with funeral directors, picking out caskets, even choosing flowers, all while posting about how brave she's being during this difficult time. Jacqueline pulls up Mum's Facebook page. The posts are a masterclass in performative grief. Photos of sunsets with captions like, "Thinking of our angel tonight." Pictures of the renovated kitchen, with Abby would have loved this space. She's been getting a lot of attention, Jacqueline says. Sympathy, donations, even a feature in the local newspaper about a mother's love during tragedy. This is insane. It gets worse. They've started planning a celebration of life event. Ella created a GoFundMe for it. They've raised $8,000 so far. I scroll through the GoFundMe page. Pictures of me from years ago, descriptions of my brave battle, requests for donations to honour Abby's memory with the beautiful service she deserves. They're crowdfunding my funeral while I'm still alive. I'm pocketing the money. The event they're planning costs maybe $2,000. The rest is going straight into their accounts. I close the tablet and lean back in my chair. What's your plan? We let them dig the hole deeper. I've been documenting everything, every transaction, every lie, every forged document, but I need your help for the final piece, which is, they need to believe you're actually dying. We need them to come see you, to make one final attempt to tie up loose ends, and when they do, we spring the trap. What kind of trap? Jacqueline smiles, and for the first time I see the family resemblance. It's not a nice smile. The kind where they walk into a room expecting to find a dying woman and instead find a federal investigator with enough evidence to put them all in prison. When? Soon. Your mother has been getting increasingly anxious about your condition. She's been calling hospitals in Portland, trying to track you down. She's worried about that trust fund, about making sure all the legal paperwork is in order before you die. She wants to make sure she gets everything. Exactly. So we're going to give her exactly what she wants. One last visit with her dying daughter. Jacqueline closes her briefcase and stands up. Are you ready to come back from the dead, Abby? I think about the kitchen renovation, the Cabo vacation, the funeral GoFundMe, the forged signatures. I think about months of feeling abandoned and betrayed while they spent my money and planned my memorial service. I'm ready. Good, because your family is about to learn that some debts can't be paid with other people's money. The plan is simple, too simple, which makes me nervous. You'll be staying at a private care facility, Jacqueline explains as we drive through the outskirts of Portland. It's actually a safe house we use for witness protection, but it looks like a hospice from the outside. And you'll be there as my nurse? Nurse practitioner. I have the credentials. I worked in healthcare before joining FinCEN. Your family will see exactly what they expect to see, their dying daughter and her caregiver. The facility looks perfect for our purposes. Sterile hallways, medical equipment, the faint smell of disinfectant. Jacqueline has thought of everything. The room is wired for audio and video, she says, showing me the hidden cameras. Everything they say will be recorded. What if they don't take the bait? They will. Your mother has been calling every hospital in Portland for 2 weeks. She's desperate to find you. That evening, Jacqueline sends the text from my phone. Mum, I'm in a care facility in Portland. The doctors say it's time. Can you come? The response comes within minutes. On our way. Hold on, sweetheart. They arrive the next morning, all 3 of them, carrying flowers and wearing their best grieving family expressions. I'm in the hospital bed, makeup carefully applied to make me look gaunt and weak. Jacqueline is in scrubs, playing her role perfectly. Oh, my baby, Mum rushes to the bedside, tears already flowing. You look so thin. The treatment didn't work, I whisper, keeping my voice weak. Dad hangs back by the door, uncomfortable as always with emotional displays. Ella sits in the visitor chair, her phone already out, probably planning her Instagram post about this touching family moment. We brought you something, Mum says, pulling out a tablet. We wanted to show you the kitchen. It's finally finished. She scrolls through photos of their renovation, narrating each detail like she's giving a house tour. The marble countertops, the custom cabinets, the wine fridge. It's beautiful, isn't it? We did it all for you, honey, so you'd have something beautiful to remember. It must have been expensive, I say. Don't worry about that. We used your money wisely. Every penny went toward making something lasting. Jacqueline, still in character as my nurse, steps forward. I'm sorry, but visiting hours are limited. The patient needs rest. Of course, Mum says. We understand, but before we go, there are some papers we need Abby to sign. Here it comes. Dad finally speaks up, pulling documents from his briefcase. Just some final arrangements, sweetheart, making sure everything is handled properly. I pretend to read through the papers, but I already know what they are. Transfer documents for the trust fund, a new will leaving everything to them, forms to close my remaining accounts. I don't understand some of this legal language, I say weakly. It's just standard stuff, Ella says, not looking up from her phone, making sure we can handle your affairs after I die. Don't say that, Mum scolds, but she's pushing the pen toward my hand. Just sign where it's highlighted. I'm about to sign when Jacqueline's phone buzzes loudly. She checks it and frowns. I'm sorry, but there's been a development with the patient's care plan. I need to step out and make some calls. She leaves the room, and immediately the family's demeanour changes. Finally, Ella mutters. That nurse has been hovering all morning. Sign quickly, Mum says, her voice losing its gentle tone. Before she comes back. What's the rush? I ask. There's no rush, honey. We just want to make sure everything is taken care of. Dad clears his throat. Actually, Abby, there's something we need to discuss. The trust fund account. What about it? The bank has been asking questions about some paperwork we submitted. My heart races, but I keep my voice steady. What kind of questions? They're claiming the signature didn't match their records, Mum says, her face flushing. It's ridiculous. Banks make mistakes all the time. You tried to access the trust fund? We were just trying to consolidate your accounts, Dad says quickly. Make things easier to manage. By forging my signature? The room goes dead silent. Ella finally looks up from her phone. That's a serious accusation, Mum says, her voice ice cold. Is it an accusation if it's true? Abby, you're not thinking clearly. The medication, the stress. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. You forged my signature to steal money from an account you didn't even know I had. We didn't steal anything, Ella snaps. We're your family. We're entitled to... Entitled to what? My death money? You're being dramatic, Mom says. Everything we've done has been for you. The kitchen renovation was for me. The Cabo vacation was for me. The GoFundMe for my funeral was for me. Dad's face goes white. How do you know about you planning my funeral while I'm still alive? About you raising money for a memorial service and pocketing the cash? You don't understand, Mum says, but her voice is shaking now. We've been under so much stress. The medical bills, the emotional toll. What medical bills? You haven't paid for any of my treatment. We've been supporting you emotionally. That has value. Apparently it has a dollar amount, about $200,000, give or take. The door opens and Jacqueline walks back in, but she's no longer wearing scrubs. She's in a business suit, carrying her federal ID. Sorry for the interruption, she says, her voice completely different now, professional, authoritative. I'm Agent Jacqueline Mason, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Mum's face goes from red to white in seconds. Jackie? Hello, Denise. It's been a while. Ella looks confused. Who is this? Your aunt, Jacqueline says, pulling out her badge, and the federal agent who's been investigating your family for financial crimes. Dad tries to stand, but his legs seem to give out. This is a setup. This is justice, Jacqueline says, placing a thick folder on the bedside table. And you just confessed to multiple felonies on federal recording equipment. Mum stares at me, and for the first time in months, she's speechless. Surprise, I say, sitting up in bed. I'm not dying, but your freedom might be. The silence in the room is deafening. Mum stares at me like I'm a ghost, which I suppose I am in a way. Ella's mouth hangs open, her phone forgotten in her lap. Dad has gone completely grey. This isn't possible, Mum whispers. You're dying. The doctor said I had 6 months without treatment, I say, throwing off the hospital blanket and standing up. Turns out, when you actually use the money for treatment instead of kitchen renovations, medicine works pretty well. Jacqueline opens the folder and spreads documents across the bedside table like she's dealing cards. Let's start with the basics. Wire fraud, forgery, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and my personal favourite, charity fraud. Charity fraud. Ella finally finds her voice. The GoFundMe for Abby's funeral, $8,000 raised under false pretences. That's federal wire fraud. She was dying, Mum says, but her voice cracks. We thought she was dying. You thought wrong, and even if she was, taking money donated for funeral expenses and spending it on vacations is still fraud. Dad tries to stand again, this time successfully. We need a lawyer. You need several lawyers, Jacqueline says, but first let's finish our conversation. She pulls out her tablet and starts reading. $80,000 for home renovation, $15,000 for a Cabo vacation, $12,000 in retail purchases, $25,000 for a car down payment, $3,000 for a massage bed that was supposedly for Abby's medical care but was actually installed in your master bedroom. How do you know about the bed? Ella asks. Because I've been watching you for months. Every purchase, every transaction, every social media post about your brave journey through your daughter's illness. Mum's tears have stopped. Now she just looks angry. You had no right to spy on us. I had every right. Financial crimes against vulnerable adults are my specialty. Abby wasn't vulnerable. She signed the power of attorney willingly, under duress, while facing a terminal diagnosis after you manipulated her into believing you would use the money for her care. Jacqueline's voice is ice cold. That's textbook exploitation. We are her family, Dad says, finally finding some backbone. We had every right to make decisions for her. You had the right to make medical decisions and pay her bills. You didn't have the right to steal her life savings. It wasn't stealing, Ella snaps. She was going to die anyway. What was she going to do with the money? Live, I say simply. I was going to use it to live. But you are living, Mum says, grasping at straws. So what's the problem? The problem is that I'm only living because a federal agent happened to be my aunt and happened to have access to discretionary funds for fraud victims. Without that, I'd be dead right now. But you're not dead. No thanks to you. Jacqueline pulls out another document. This is where it gets really interesting. The forged signature on the trust fund withdrawal. She slides a paper across to Mom. This is your signature, Denise. You didn't even try to make it look like Abby's handwriting. Mum stares at the document. I was under stress. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to research the account, forge the paperwork and submit it to the bank. We needed the money. For what? For expenses. What expenses? Your mortgage is paid off, your car is paid off, you have no debt except the credit cards you maxed out buying furniture for your renovation. Dad sits back down heavily. What happens now? Now you get arrested, Jacqueline says matter-of-factly. Wire fraud carries a maximum sentence of 20 years. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult is another 10. The charity fraud adds another 5. 35 years. Ella's voice is barely a whisper. Each. These are separate charges. Mum starts crying again, but this time it's different. These aren't manipulative tears or performative grief. This is pure panic. Please, she says, we'll pay it back, every penny. With what money, I ask? You spent it all. We'll sell the house. We'll sell everything. The house you renovated with my money, the car you bought with my money, the furniture you purchased with my money? Yes, all of it. I look at Jacqueline. What do you think? Should we let them sell everything to pay me back before they go to prison? That's up to you, Jacqueline says, but the criminal charges stand regardless. They committed federal crimes. Wait, Dad says desperately. There has to be another way. We're family. Family, I repeat. You know what family does? Family doesn't steal your life savings when you're dying. Family doesn't plan your funeral while you're still alive. Family doesn't raise money for your memorial service and pocket the cash. We made mistakes, Mum pleads. You made choices. Every single transaction was a choice. Every forged signature was a choice. Every lie on social media was a choice. Ella suddenly stands up. This is insane. You can't do this to us. We're your family. You keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. We love you. You love my money. That's not true. Really? When's the last time any of you called to ask how I was feeling? When's the last time you visited without needing me to sign something? The room falls silent again. That's what I thought, I say. Jacqueline closes the folder. Abigail, it's your decision. We have enough evidence to prosecute. The question is whether you want to press charges. I look at my family. Mum, still crying. Dad, staring at his hands. Ella, defiant to the end. I want to press charges, I say. All of them. Abby, please, Mum begs. Think about what this will do to the family. I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about what you already did to this family. Jacqueline pulls out her phone. I'll call the field office. They can have agents here within the hour. Wait, Dad says. Just wait. Give us a chance to make this right. How? We'll figure something out. You've had months to figure something out. Instead, you planned my funeral. I walk to the window and look out at the parking lot. You know what the worst part is? I would have given you anything if you'd just asked. If you'd been honest about needing help, about wanting to renovate the house, about any of it. But instead, you chose to steal from me while I was dying. We thought we were helping, Mum whispers. You thought you were inheriting early. Jacqueline's phone buzzes. The agents are on their way. I turn back to face them. Every false tear you cried, every sympathy card you accepted, every dollar you stole, it all has a price, and today the bill comes due. The federal agents arrive exactly when Jacqueline said they would. Denise Grant, Lewis Grant, Ella Grant, you're under arrest for wire fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The handcuffs click with a finality that echoes through the sterile room. Mum is still crying, but quietly now. Dad stares straight ahead like he's already planning his defense strategy. Ella keeps looking at me like she's waiting for me to call this whole thing off. I don't. You have the right to remain silent. As they're led away, Mum turns back one last time. Abby, please, don't let them destroy our family. You already did that, I say. The door closes behind them, and suddenly the room feels enormous. How do you feel? Jacqueline asks, packing up her files. Empty, satisfied, angry, relieved. I sit down in the chair Ella vacated. All of it at once. That's normal. Justice doesn't always feel the way we think it will. What happens now? Now they get processed, arraigned, probably released on bail. Their lawyers will try to work out plea deals. The house will be seized as proceeds of crime. The car too. Anything they bought with your money becomes evidence. And the money? Most of it's gone, but we'll recover what we can. The house should cover a good portion of what they stole. My phone buzzes. A text from Paige. Saw the news. Holy shit. Are you okay? The news. Of course it made the news. Local family arrested for defrauding dying daughter. The story writes itself. The media's going to have a field day with this, I say. Probably, but that's not your problem anymore. Jacqueline sits down across from me. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret it, pressing charges? I think about it for a moment. Ask me in a year. Right now I'm just glad they can't hurt anyone else. They won't. Cases like this follow people forever. Even if they avoid prison time, they'll never be able to get power of attorney over anyone again. Good. We sit in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, I can hear the news vans pulling up. I should probably get out of here before the reporters figure out which room I'm in, I say. Already handled. There's a back exit. My car is waiting. As we walk through the corridors, I catch glimpses of the news coverage on the waiting room TV. My family's mugshots flash across the screen while a reporter explains the charges. The anchor calls it a shocking betrayal of trust and every family's worst nightmare. They have no idea. Jacqueline drives me back to Seattle, where my real life is waiting. My apartment, my treatment team, my actual future. What will you do now? She asks as we pull up to my building. Keep getting better, go back to work eventually, figure out what normal looks like. And your family? What family? She nods like she understands. If you need anything, you have my number. Thank you for everything, for saving my life. You saved your own life. I just helped with the paperwork. That evening, I'm sitting in my apartment when Paige calls. I can't believe you've been in Seattle this whole time, she says. I was so worried. I'm sorry I lied. I had to. Are you kidding? You orchestrated the most epic takedown in family drama history. I'm impressed. It doesn't feel epic. It feels necessary. Same thing sometimes. We talk for an hour about everything and nothing. It feels good to have a real conversation with someone who actually cares about me. The next morning, I'm at my favourite coffee shop when I see him. Dad, sitting alone at a corner table, looking older than I've ever seen him. He spots me and walks over. Abby, can we talk? I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I nod toward the empty chair. Your mother's in the hospital, he says. Panic attacks. She can't stop crying. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Really? I consider the question. I'm sorry she's suffering. I'm not sorry she's facing consequences. She loves you. She loves what I represented. Security, money, status. That's not fair. Fair? I laugh, but there's no humour in it. Dad, you spent my treatment money on marble countertops. You planned my funeral while I was still alive. You forged my signature to steal from me. And you want to talk about fair? He stares into his coffee cup. We made mistakes. You made choices. Can you ever forgive us? The question hangs in the air between us. I think about forgiveness, about family, about the life I almost lost and the life I'm building now. I don't know, I say finally. But I know I can't trust you, and without trust, what's the point? He nods slowly, like he expected that answer. I hope someday you can understand that we thought we were doing the right thing. I understand perfectly. You thought I was going to die, so you decided to help yourselves to my money. The only thing you got wrong was the dying part. I stand up to leave. Abby, I turn back. I'm glad you're alive. So am I, Dad. So am I. I walk out of the coffee shop and into the Seattle morning. The air is crisp, the sky is clear, and for the first time in over a year, I feel completely free. My phone buzzes with a text from Dr. Rodriguez. Latest scans look great. See you next week. I smile and keep walking. Behind me, my old life crumbles under the weight of its own greed. Ahead of me, my new life stretches out like an open road. Sometimes karma needs a little push, but the bill always comes due. And I'm finally ready to collect.
I should have known something was wrong when Mom started calling me sweetie again. My name is Summer, and I'm 32 years old. I've been an ATM for my family since I was 16 and got my first job at the hardware store. But this story isn't about teenage me. It's about the moment I realized that being the reliable daughter would cost me everything I'd worked for. Summer, honey, can you swing by this weekend? Mom's voice was sugar sweet through the phone. Your father and I have something exciting to discuss with you. I was elbow deep in structural calculations for a 40-story office building, but I closed my laptop anyway. That's what I always did. Drop everything for family. Sure, Mom. What's going on? Oh, we'll talk when you get here. Bring that contractor friend of yours, Roman, right? We might need his opinion on something. The house looked the same as always when I pulled into the driveway Saturday morning. Same peeling paint, same sagging front porch that I'd been begging Dad to let me fix for years. Roman's truck was already there. There's my brilliant daughter, Dad boomed as I walked through the front door. He was wearing his good shirt, the one he saved for church and family photos. Mom appeared from the kitchen, practically glowing. Summer, perfect timing. Roman's been telling us the most interesting things about home renovations. Roman looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. We'd known each other since college, and I could read his expressions like blueprints. Something was off. What's this about? I asked. Well, Dad cleared his throat. Your mother and I have been thinking. This old house has been in the family for 30 years. It's got good bones, but it needs work, Mom finished. Serious work. And who better to oversee it than our daughter, the engineer? I felt that familiar flutter of pride mixed with obligation. You want me to help with renovations? More than help, Mom said, her eyes bright. We want you to manage the whole project. Design it, oversee it, make it beautiful. Think of it as an investment in the family's future. Roman caught my eye and gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head, but I was already mentally cataloging everything that needed fixing. The foundation settling, the outdated electrical, the roof that leaked every winter. It would be expensive, I said carefully. We're talking major structural work, not just cosmetic updates. We know, Dad said. That's why we're asking you. You understand these things. And he exchanged a look with Mom. And we were hoping you might consider it a family investment, Mom said. You know how much this house means to us, to all of us. There it was, the ask. Not just my expertise, but my money too. How much are we talking about? I asked. Roman shifted again. Summer, maybe we should... Ballpark, Dad interrupted. Maybe 80, 90,000 for everything? My entire savings account flashed before my eyes. Every overtime shift, every skipped vacation, every dollar I'd squirreled away for my own future. But this was family. This was the house where Kyle and I had grown up, where Mom still hosted Christmas dinner, where Dad taught us to ride bikes in the driveway. I'd need to do a full assessment first, I heard myself saying. Get permits, check the foundation, make sure we're not missing anything structural. Mom clapped her hands together. Oh, Summer, this is going to be wonderful. The house will be gorgeous when you're finished with it. Where's Kyle? I asked. Shouldn't he be part of this conversation? Another look passed between my parents. You know your brother, Mom said with a laugh. He's got his hands full with Marley and everything. Besides, this kind of project needs someone with your skills. Translation: Kyle couldn't be bothered and they needed my money. I'll think about it, I said. Of course, sweetie. Take your time. But I could see it in their faces. They already knew my answer. They always did. Summer would come through. Summer always came through. Roman walked me to my car afterward. You sure about this? He asked quietly. It's family, I said, the words automatic. Yeah, but Summer, I know what you're going to say, but it's not just about them. It's about preserving something that matters. He nodded, but his expression stayed troubled. Just be careful, okay? Make sure everyone's on the same page about expectations. I drove home thinking about blueprints and budgets, about the satisfaction of taking something broken and making it whole again. I was already mentally designing the new kitchen layout when I stopped by Mom's car to grab my purse. Her phone was sitting on the passenger seat, screen lit up with a text message. He'll love the house. Everything's finally falling into place for him. I stared at those words until the screen went dark, my reflection staring back at me from the black glass. Him, not us, not the family, him. 3 weeks later, I was drowning in permits, contractor schedules, and my own stupidity. The electrical panel needs a complete overhaul, I told Mom over the phone while juggling my coffee and a stack of inspection reports. We're talking another $12,000 minimum. Oh, her voice went flat. That seems like a lot. Mom, the wiring is from 1987. It's not up to code, and honestly, it's a fire hazard. Well, you're the expert. Do whatever you think is best. Whatever I thought was best. With my money. While working 60-hour weeks at my actual job, I'd already transferred $43,000 from my savings to cover the foundation work and new plumbing. Roman's crew had been at the house for 2 weeks, and every day brought new surprises buried in the walls. Summer! Kyle's voice boomed across the construction site as I pulled up after work. He was standing on the front porch like he owned the place, beer in hand, gesturing wildly at Roman. Hey, Kyle. I grabbed my hard hat from the back seat. What brings you by? Just checking on the progress, making sure my sister isn't getting ripped off. He grinned that charming smile that had gotten him out of trouble his entire life. Roman caught my eye and shook his head slightly. Everything okay? I asked. Your brother here has some opinions about the kitchen layout, Roman said carefully. Opinions? Kyle threw his arm around my shoulders. Come on, Sum. You've got to admit the island's a little small. Marley and I were thinking... Marley and you? Well, yeah. I mean, we'll be spending time here too, right? Family dinners, holidays. We want to make sure it's functional for everyone. I stepped out from under his arm. Kyle, this is Mom and Dad's house. Of course it is, but it's the family house, you know? We all have a stake in it. Roman was suddenly very interested in his clipboard. What kind of stake? I asked. Kyle's smile flickered. I just mean, we're all family. What's good for one of us is good for all of us. Right. Speaking of which, how much are you contributing to this renovation? Summer. His voice took on that wounded tone he'd perfected by age 10. You know I would if I could, but with the wedding expenses and now Marley's pregnant... Pregnant? The word hit me like a sledgehammer. Surprise! Kyle's grin was back full force. We were going to tell everyone at dinner Sunday, but since you're here, we're having a baby, Sum. Roman cleared his throat. I'm going to check on the guys upstairs. Congratulations, I managed. That's... wow. I know, right? Marley's over the moon, and Mom's already talking about converting the spare room into a nursery. The spare room here? Well, yeah. I mean, we'll need somewhere to stay when we visit with the baby. Hotels are expensive, and with a newborn, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Kyle, how often are you planning to visit? I don't know, weekends, holidays, however often Mom and Dad want to see their grandchild. He took a long pull from his beer. Actually, Marley was wondering if you could look into adding a bathroom upstairs. You know, for convenience. Another bathroom. Just a half bath. Nothing fancy. That's another $15,000 minimum. Kyle waved his hand dismissively. You're so good with this stuff. I'm sure you'll figure out a way to do it cheaper. I stared at him, really looked at him. Designer jeans, expensive watch, craft beer that cost more per bottle than most people spent on lunch. Meanwhile, I was wearing the same work clothes I'd had for 3 years because every spare dollar was going into this house. Where are Mom and Dad? I asked. Inside somewhere. Mom's showing Marley paint samples. I found them in what used to be the living room, now gutted down to the studs. Mom was holding up color swatches, while Marley, glowing and beautiful, nodded enthusiastically. Summer, Mom beamed. Perfect timing. We're picking colors for the nursery. I thought we were renovating Mom and Dad's house, I said. We are, sweetie, but we want it to be welcoming for everyone, especially our future grandchild. Marley placed a protective hand over her still flat stomach. I hope you don't mind us having opinions. I know this is your project. It's not my project, I said. It's supposed to be what Mom and Dad want. And we want our family to be comfortable here, Mom said firmly. All of our family. Dad appeared from the kitchen, covered in drywall dust. Summer! Good, you're here. The contractor was asking about the bathroom addition upstairs. Kyle mentioned that. It makes sense, doesn't it? With the baby coming and all? I looked around the room, at Mom, practically vibrating with excitement about her future grandchild. At Marley, young and pregnant and already making herself at home. At Dad, who'd never asked me what I wanted, not once in 32 years. Where's Kyle? I asked. Outside, I think, Dad said. Why? Just wondering how much he's contributing to his bathroom addition. The room went quiet. Summer, Mom's voice carried a warning. Don't start. Start what? Asking reasonable questions about a renovation I'm paying for? You offered to help, Dad said. No one forced you. Help? Not fund the entire thing while Kyle makes design requests. He's going to be a father, Mom said. Cut him some slack. I walked to the window and looked out at Kyle, still on the porch, now on his phone, laughing about something, probably making plans with friends while I figured out how to pay for his bathroom. I need some air, I said. Outside, I found Roman loading tools into his truck. Rough day? He asked, getting rougher by the minute. For what it's worth, your brother spent 20 minutes telling me how the kitchen should be laid out, like he's the one who's going to be cooking in it. He say anything else interesting? Roman hesitated. Just maybe keep your receipts organized, you know? Why? Just a feeling. He drove away, leaving me standing in the driveway of a house that was costing me everything I had, for a family that saw me as a walking checkbook. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Aunt Jayla. Call me when you get a chance. We need to talk. I called Aunt Jayla from my car, hands shaking as I dialed. Summer, thank God. Where are you? Sitting in Mom and Dad's driveway? What's going on? Not over the phone. Meet me at Rosie's Diner on 5th Street, 20 minutes. The line went dead. Jayla was already in a corner booth when I arrived, stirring her coffee like she was trying to dissolve the cup. She looked up when I slid across from her, and I could see the guilt written all over her face. I shouldn't be doing this, she said without preamble. Doing what? Telling you what I heard, but I can't sleep at night knowing what they're planning. My stomach dropped. What? Who's planning? Jayla glanced around the diner, then leaned forward. Your parents, and Kyle. Summer, they're not renovating that house for themselves. What do you mean? I was at your mom's last week, helping her sort through old photos. Kyle called while I was there. She paused, took a shaky breath. Your mom put him on speaker. And he was talking about the house like it was already his, asking about the timeline, when everything would be finished. Your mom kept saying things like, it'll be perfect for you and Marley, and the baby will love the backyard. The coffee in my mouth turned bitter. Maybe they just meant for visits. Jayla shook her head. Summer, honey, Kyle asked about property taxes, about homeowners insurance, about whether the deed transfer paperwork was ready. The words hit me like a physical blow. Deed transfer? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. Knew what exactly? That they're giving him the house, once the renovation is done. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to say she misunderstood, but she just sat there, looking miserable. That's impossible, I said finally. I'm paying for everything. They asked me to invest in the family's future. They did. Kyle's future. But why would they? I stopped. I knew why. Kyle was the golden child. Kyle was having a baby. Kyle needed help, and Summer would always be fine on her own. There's more, Jayla said quietly. More? After Kyle hung up, your mom started talking about how smart this was, how they'd get a beautiful house without spending a dime, and Kyle would finally have somewhere stable to raise his family. What about me? She said you'd understand eventually, that you're successful and independent, and Kyle needs the help more than you do. I felt like I was drowning. Did she say when? Soon. Your mom mentioned something about the paperwork being almost ready. She was laughing about how you'd probably want to help with the property taxes too, since you're so good with money. I pushed back from the table so hard my chair scraped against the floor. I have to go. Summer, wait. But I was already walking out, my vision tunneling, my hands numb. I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to process what I'd just heard. Then I drove straight to my parents' house. The construction crew was gone for the day. Kyle's car was still in the driveway, along with a silver sedan I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see people moving around inside. I used my key to let myself in through the back door. Perfect for the nursery, Mom was saying from the living room. And Summer's doing such beautiful work with the renovation. She really is talented, an unfamiliar woman's voice replied. Kyle's so lucky to have such a generous sister. I crept closer to the doorway. Oh, Summer's always been the responsible one, Mom said. She knows how important family is. She'd do anything for Kyle. Even pay for an entire house renovation? The woman laughed. Especially that, Kyle's voice joined in. My sister's got this thing about taking care of everyone. Makes her feel needed. That's sweet, the woman said. But won't she be upset when she finds out the house is going to you? She'll get over it, Mom said dismissively. Summer's practical. She'll understand that we need to think about the baby's future. Besides, Kyle added, it's not like she can't afford it. She makes good money and she doesn't have kids or a mortgage. This is probably pocket change for her. I backed away from the door, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they'd hear it. I made it to the kitchen before I had to grab the counter to keep from falling over. On the kitchen table, scattered among paint samples and cabinet hardware, were legal documents. I recognized the letterhead from Dad's lawyer. The top page was a deed transfer form. Kyle's name was typed in the grantee section. The date was next month. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the pages. Property transfer, tax assessment, title insurance, all with Kyle's name. I heard footsteps coming toward the kitchen and quickly shoved the papers back where I'd found them. Summer? Mom appeared in the doorway. I didn't hear you come in. Just got here, wanted to check on the electrical work. Oh, good. Kyle's here with his realtor friend, getting some advice about the property value. His realtor friend? For insurance purposes, Mom said quickly. You know how these things work. Kyle appeared behind her, grinning. Hey, Sum, meet Jessica. She's helping us understand the market value of the improvements you're making. Jessica, a polished woman in her 40s, shook my hand. Your brothers told me so much about your work. This renovation is going to add serious value to the property. Value for who? I asked. Kyle's smile faltered slightly. For the family, of course. Rising tide lifts all boats, right? I looked at Mom, who was suddenly very interested in the paint samples, at Kyle, whose charm was wearing thin around the edges, at Jessica, who was clearly uncomfortable with the tension in the room. Right, I said. The family. I walked out without another word, leaving them standing in the kitchen of the house I was buying for my brother, the house that would never be mine. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with a bottle of wine and my laptop, going through every bank statement, every receipt, every transfer I'd made for the renovation. $67,000. Gone. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Penny. You sound like hell, she said when I answered. Feel worse. What happened? I told her everything. The overheard conversation, the legal documents, Kyle's realtor friend. By the time I finished, Penny was swearing creatively. Those absolute bastards, she said. Summer, you have to confront them. With what? I don't have any legal claim to the house. It's their property. But you paid for the renovations. As a gift. That's how they'll spin it. Then take them to court. And say what? That I voluntarily gave them money and now I want it back? I'd lose. Penny was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But I was lying. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. I called in sick to work and drove to the house. Roman's truck was there along with the electrical contractor's van. I found Roman in the basement installing new outlets. You look terrible, he said. Thanks. That's what every woman wants to hear. Sorry. Rough night? You could say that. I sat down on a sawhorse. Roman, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. He stopped working and looked at me. Okay. The work we're doing here, is it all up to code? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. Are we following every regulation, getting every permit, doing every inspection? Roman's face went carefully neutral. Why are you asking? Because I need to know. He set down his drill. Summer, your mom asked us to cut some corners. Nothing major, just... What kind of corners? The bathroom addition upstairs. She didn't want to pull permits because it would take too long and cost more money. My stomach clenched. What else? The electrical work in the kitchen. We're doing it right, but we haven't scheduled the inspection yet. Your mom said she'd handle it. She won't handle it. I figured. And the foundation work. What about the foundation work? Roman looked miserable. We found some issues. Settling that's worse than we thought. It needs structural reinforcement, but your mom said to just patch it and move on. You patched a structural foundation issue? She said you'd approved it, that you wanted to keep costs down. I stood up so fast the sawhorse nearly tipped over. Roman, that foundation could fail. The whole house could be compromised. I know. That's why I've been trying to talk to you about it. But every time I brought it up, your mom said you were too busy with work. Show me. He led me to the far corner of the basement where I could see the hasty patch job over what was clearly a serious structural crack. My engineer brain immediately started calculating load distributions and failure points. This is a disaster waiting to happen, I said. I know. Summer, I'm sorry. I should have insisted on talking to you directly, but your mom was so convincing and she said what? That you trusted her to make these decisions? That you were family and family looks out for each other? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family? Right. What do you want me to do? I stared at the cracked foundation, at the shoddy patch job, at the corner cutting that could get Roman's license revoked if the city found out. An idea was forming in my mind. A terrible, perfect idea. Fix it, I said finally. Fix what? All of it. The foundation, the electrical, the bathroom permits. Do it right. Summer, that's going to cost... I don't care what it costs. Do it right or don't do it at all. Roman nodded slowly. Okay, but what about your mom? She's not going to be happy about the extra expense. Let me worry about my mom. I left him in the basement and went upstairs, where I could hear voices in the kitchen. Mom and Kyle discussing cabinet hardware. Summer! Mom's voice was bright and fake. Perfect timing. Kyle was just saying how much he loves the subway tile you picked out. It's going to look great, Kyle said. Really adds value to the space. Value, I repeated. Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes time to sell, Kyle caught himself. I mean, if Mom and Dad ever decide to downsize, right, if they ever decide to downsize, Mom jumped in quickly, which won't be for years and years. We love this house. It's our forever home. Your forever home that you're giving to Kyle? The words hung in the air like smoke. Kyle's face went white. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Summer, Mom started, I don't know what you think you heard. I heard Kyle asking about property taxes. I heard you talking about deed transfers. I saw the paperwork on the kitchen table. Kyle found his voice first. Summer, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been planning to steal the house I'm paying to renovate? It's not stealing, Mom said defensively. It's family planning. Kyle needs stability for his new family. And I need my $67,000 back. That was a gift, Kyle said quickly. You can't just take back a gift. Watch me. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. The unfinished work, the code violations, the unpermitted bathroom addition. What are you doing? Mom asked. Documenting everything. Every shortcut, every violation, every corner you made Roman cut to save money. Kyle stepped forward. Summer, you're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're about to inherit a house that's not up to code. A house that could be condemned if the right person reported the violations. Mom's face went pale. You wouldn't. I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me to be responsible and generous and selfless, who'd taught me that family came first, always, who was now standing in a kitchen I'd paid for, defending her decision to give away the house I'd renovated. Try me, I said. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in family manipulation. Mom called every day, her voice dripping with wounded innocence. Summer, honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we talk? Dad tried the guilt approach. Your mother's been crying herself to sleep. This isn't like you, sweetheart. Kyle went straight for emotional blackmail. Marley's stressed about all this family drama. You know, stress isn't good for the baby. I documented every conversation, every text, every voicemail. Meanwhile, I worked late into the night, cross-referencing building codes, pulling permit records, and building a case that would make any city inspector salivate. The breakthrough came when Roman called me at work. Summer, we need to talk, in person. I met him at a coffee shop near my office. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Your mom came by the site yesterday, he said without preamble. And she offered me an extra $5,000 to keep quiet about the foundation issues. She what? Said it was a bonus for good work, but she made it clear that she didn't want me discussing any problems with you anymore. I set down my coffee cup carefully. What did you tell her? That I needed to think about it. Roman leaned forward. Summer, I can't afford to lose my license over this. If the city finds out I did unpermitted work, covered up structural issues, they won't find out from me. But if someone else reports it, then you'll have documentation showing you tried to fix everything properly. I'll make sure of that. Roman studied my face. You're really going to do this, aren't you? Do what? Whatever you're planning. I can see it in your eyes. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd been taking. Code violations, unpermitted work, structural issues that had been ignored or covered up. Jesus, Summer. Every single one of these is a city violation. Some of them are serious enough to get the house condemned. And you're going to report them? I'm going to give my family one more chance to do the right thing. That evening, I got the call I'd been expecting. Summer? Mom's voice was strained. Can you come over? We need to discuss the renovation budget. What about it? Well, the property taxes are going to be higher with all the improvements. We were hoping you might help us cover the first year. I almost laughed. How much higher? About $4,000 more annually. It's a lot for us on a fixed income. But not a lot for Kyle? Silence. Mom, let me ask you something. When you give Kyle the house, is he going to pay you back for the renovations? Summer, I don't know what you think. Is he? Another pause. That's between Kyle and us. So that's a no. Family doesn't keep score, honey. You're right. Family doesn't keep score. But I'm starting to wonder if we're actually family. I hung up and immediately called Kyle. Good to hear from you. How's work? Cut the crap, Kyle. I know about the house. His cheerful facade cracked. Look, I can explain. Explain how you're getting a free house while I pay for it? It's not free. Mom and Dad are giving it to me because I need it more than you do. Need it? Yeah, need it. You've got your career, your condo, your savings. I've got a pregnant wife and student loans. You've got student loans because you partied your way through college while I worked 2 jobs. That's not fair. What's not fair is me spending my life savings on a house you're going to inherit. Kyle's voice hardened. Nobody forced you to pay for anything. You're right, nobody forced me. I chose to help my family. Stupid me. Summer, come on, don't be like this. Like what? Honest? Selfish. The word hit me like a slap. Selfish? Yeah, selfish. You make good money, you don't have kids, you don't have real responsibilities. This house means everything to Marley and me. And what does it mean to me? You'll be fine. You always are. I hung up and sat in my car outside their house, watching the lights in the windows. My money had paid for those new windows. My money had paid for the electrical work that powered those lights. My money had paid for the foundation that held up the walls that contained their laughter and their plans and their future. My phone buzzed, a text from Marley. Summer, I hope you know how grateful we are for everything you're doing. The baby is going to love growing up in this house. Kyle says you're the best sister anyone could ask for. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and began typing a formal complaint to the city building department. Every code violation, every unpermitted addition, every structural issue that had been ignored or covered up. I attached photos, referenced specific building codes, and provided a detailed timeline of when each violation had occurred. Before I could change my mind, I hit send. My phone rang immediately. Roman. Summer, I just got a call from your mom. She's panicking about something. What did you do? I gave them what they wanted. What do you mean? They wanted me to be responsible for the house, so I'm being responsible. Summer, Roman, make sure all your paperwork is in order. Document everything you've tried to fix. Keep records of every conversation where you recommended proper permits or inspections. Why? Because tomorrow morning, the city is going to be very interested in that house. I hung up and drove home, where I poured myself a glass of wine and waited for my phone to start ringing. It didn't take long. The first call came at 6:47 a.m. Summer, what have you done? Mom's voice was shrill with panic. Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't you dare take that tone with me. There are city inspectors at the house. They have clipboards and cameras and they're talking about violations. Huh. That's weird. Summer Elizabeth, I know this was you. I sipped my coffee. I have no idea what you're talking about. They're saying the bathroom upstairs was built without permits. They're taking pictures of the foundation. Roman looks like he's going to throw up. Maybe you should have gotten proper permits. You told us it would be fine. I told you no such thing. I told Roman to do everything by the book. You're the one who asked him to cut corners. The line went quiet except for Mom's heavy breathing. What do you want? She asked finally. What do I want? To make this go away. What's it going to cost? I almost choked on my coffee. Even now, even caught red-handed, she thought this was about money. It's going to cost you exactly what it's going to cost you, I said. I'm not a city inspector, Mom. I can't make anything go away. But you reported us. I reported code violations at a property under renovation. It's my civic duty. Your civic duty? Her voice cracked. Summer, this is your family. Is it? Because last I checked, family doesn't lie to each other about who's getting the house they're paying to renovate. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Kyle, Summer, you need to fix this right now. Good morning, Kyle. How's Marley feeling? Don't change the subject. There are inspectors crawling all over the house. They're talking about stop work orders and fines. That sounds serious. It is serious. They could condemn the whole property. Wow. That would be terrible for whoever owns it. Summer, I swear to God. You swear to God what? You'll cut me out of the family? Steal my inheritance? Oh, wait. You already did that. Nobody stole anything from you. Right. You just happen to be getting a free house that I paid to renovate. It's not free. Mom and Dad are giving it to me because I need it. And what about what I need, Kyle? What do you need? You've got everything. I need my family to not treat me like an ATM. I need my parents to not lie to me. I need my brother to not be a selfish, entitled brat who thinks the world owes him everything. You're being a vindictive bitch, and you're being exactly who you've always been. I hung up again. By noon, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I ignored them all and went to work, where I spent the day designing load-bearing structures for people who actually paid me for my expertise. At 5 o'clock, I drove to the house. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. A red stop work order plastered on the front door, Roman's truck gone, Kyle's car in the driveway, along with Dad's sedan and a car I didn't recognize. I used my key to go in through the back door. Completely ruined, someone was saying in the living room. A man's voice I didn't recognize. There has to be something we can do, Dad said. Mr. Harper, I'm going to be honest with you. The violations are extensive. The unpermitted bathroom, the foundation issues, the electrical work that wasn't inspected, this is going to be expensive to fix. How expensive? Kyle asked. Conservatively, 40 to 50,000, maybe more if we find additional problems. I heard Mom make a strangled sound. And if we don't fix it? Dad asked. The city will condemn the property. You won't be able to live here, and you certainly won't be able to sell it. I walked into the living room. 4 faces turned toward me. Mom, Dad, Kyle, and a man in a suit holding a clipboard. Summer, Mom jumped up. Thank God you're here. This is Mr. Peterson from the city planning office. Mr. Peterson looked confused. I'm sorry, are you the homeowner? No, I said. I'm the structural engineer who's been overseeing the renovation. His expression sharpened. Ah, then you're aware of the violations? Very aware. I've been trying to get the homeowners to address them for weeks. Mom's face went white. Kyle started to say something, but I cut him off. I have documentation of every conversation where I recommended proper permits and inspections. Unfortunately, the homeowners chose to ignore my professional advice. Mr. Peterson made a note on his clipboard. I see. Well, the violations still need to be addressed. Of course, I'd be happy to oversee the corrective work, assuming the homeowners want to proceed. Summer, Dad said carefully, could we speak privately? Actually, I think we should all hear this, I said, since it affects everyone. I reached into my purse and pulled out a manila envelope, thick with papers. What's that? Kyle asked. A detailed report of every code violation on this property. Every shortcut that was taken, every corner that was cut, every time I recommended doing things properly and was overruled. I handed the envelope to Mr. Peterson, who opened it and started flipping through the pages. "This is very thorough," he said, impressed. "You've documented everything." "I believe in being thorough," Mom found her voice. "Summer, what are you doing?" "I'm being responsible. Isn't that what you always wanted from me?" Kyle stepped forward, his face red with anger. "You vindictive." "Careful," I said quietly. "Mr. Peterson is still here." Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. "I'll need to review all of this and coordinate with the other departments. In the meantime, the stop work order remains in effect." He left, taking my envelope with him. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Dad spoke. "Summer, we need to talk." "Do we? Because I think we've said everything we need to say." "Please," Mom whispered. "We're family." I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me and betrayed me in the same breath. "No," I said. "We're not." I walked out, leaving them standing in the ruins of their perfect plan. 3 days later, the condemnation notice went up. I was driving to work when I saw the crowd gathered on the sidewalk across from the house. Neighbors with coffee cups, pointing and whispering. A bright orange sign posted on the front door that could be seen from space. "Unsafe for occupancy, by order of the city." I parked and walked over, blending into the crowd of onlookers. "Such a shame," Mrs. Rodriguez from next door was saying. "They were doing such beautiful work on that house." "I heard it's code violations," another neighbor replied. "Foundation problems, unpermitted additions, the whole 9 yards. Weren't the Harper kids involved in the renovation? The daughter's an engineer, I think. You'd think she'd know better." I slipped away before anyone recognized me. My phone had been ringing nonstop since the notice went up. I'd stopped answering after Kyle left his 15th voicemail, each one more unhinged than the last. Roman finally caught me at my office. "Summer, I need to see you. Now." We met at the same coffee shop as before. He looked exhausted but relieved. "The city cleared me," he said without preamble. "Your documentation saved my license." "Good. They said it was clear I'd tried to do everything by the book but was overruled by the homeowners." He paused. "They were impressed by how thorough your records were." "I'm detail-oriented." "Summer," Roman leaned forward. "What you did, I know why you did it, but the fallout is going to be massive." "I know. Your parents could lose everything. The fines alone are going to be astronomical." "I know that too." "And Kyle, what about Kyle?" "He came by my office yesterday, begging me to say the violations were my fault, offered me $10,000 to take the blame." I looked up sharply. "What did you tell him?" "I told him to go to hell." Roman shook his head. "He's desperate, Summer, really desperate." "Good. Is it? Because desperate people do stupid things." As if on cue, my phone rang. Penny. "Summer, where are you?" "At coffee with Roman. Why?" "Because your brother is at your apartment building. He's been pounding on your door for 20 minutes, and Mrs. Chen from 3B called the police." I closed my eyes. "I'll be right there." "No, don't come here. He's completely unhinged. Meet me at my place instead." I found Penny pacing her living room, phone in hand. "The police just left," she said. "Kyle's gone, but Summer, he was screaming about how you ruined his life. The whole building heard him." "What exactly did he say?" "That you were jealous and vindictive, that you sabotaged the house because you couldn't stand to see him happy, that you destroyed his family's future out of spite." I sat down heavily on her couch. "Maybe he's right." "Don't you dare." Penny sat next to me. "Summer, what they did to you was unforgivable. They used you, lied to you, and then expected you to smile and pay for the privilege. But now they're losing everything. They lost everything the moment they decided to betray you." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Marley. Please call me. It's important." I showed Penny the message. Don't, she said immediately. She's pregnant. What if something's wrong? Then Kyle can handle it. You're not responsible for his wife. But I was already dialing. Summer? Marley's voice was thick with tears. Thank God. I didn't know who else to call. What's wrong? Is the baby okay? The baby's fine. It's Kyle. He's not handling this well. What do you mean? He hasn't slept in 3 days. He keeps talking about lawyers and lawsuits and ways to make you pay. Summer, I'm scared. Scared of what? Of what he might do. He's not thinking clearly. He keeps saying you destroyed his life, that you took away his child's future. Marley, Kyle made his own choices. I know that, but he doesn't see it that way. He sees you as the enemy. What do you want me to do about it? I don't know. Maybe if you could find a way to help fix this, for the baby's sake. I felt that familiar tug, the old instinct to rescue and repair and make everything okay. Marley, I can't fix this. But you're an engineer. You know about buildings and codes, and your husband is about to inherit a condemned house that needs $50,000 in repairs, money he doesn't have because he spent his life assuming I'd always be there to bail him out. Please, Summer, I'm begging you. I'm sorry about the situation, I really am, but this isn't my problem to solve. I hung up and immediately felt sick. You did the right thing, Penny said. Did I? There's a baby involved now, a baby that isn't your responsibility. But what if... My phone rang again. Dad this time. Summer, we need to talk face to face. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just hear me out. One conversation. Dad, I'll meet you anywhere you want. Just give me 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a diner downtown. Neutral territory. He was already there when I arrived, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Gray-faced and hollow-eyed. Thank you for coming, he said as I slid into the booth across from him. 5 minutes. Summer, I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. You have every right to be. What we did was wrong. I stared at him. What you did? Planning to give Kyle the house without telling you. Using your money for renovations you'd never benefit from. It was wrong, and I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? Dad flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that. The house is going to be demolished, he said quietly. The city says it's not worth the cost to bring it up to code. I know. We're going to lose everything. The house, our savings, probably our credit. At our age, we'll never recover. That's unfortunate. Summer, please, I'm begging you, help us fix this. I looked at this man who'd raised me, who'd taught me to ride a bike and helped me with homework and walked me down the aisle at my college graduation, who'd also stood by while his wife planned to steal from me. No, I said. Summer. No, Dad, you made your choice. Now live with it. I stood up to leave. Your mother's in the hospital, he called after me. I stopped. Stress-induced chest pains. She collapsed yesterday when the demolition notice came. I turned around slowly. Is she okay? She will be. But Summer, this is killing her, literally. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she decided to screw over her daughter. I walked out, leaving him sitting alone in the booth. But as I drove home, I couldn't shake the image of Mom in a hospital bed, machines beeping around her. Maybe Penny was right. Maybe I'd done what needed to be done. So why did victory feel so much like drowning? I was staring at my laptop screen, trying to focus on structural calculations, when someone knocked on my apartment door. Hard, insistent knocks that made my stomach clench. Summer, I know you're in there. Kyle's voice, muffled but angry. We need to talk. I didn't move from my kitchen table. Summer, open the damn door. More pounding. My neighbor's dog started barking. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me." I grabbed my phone and called building security, but before I could dial, the knocking stopped. I heard footsteps retreating down the hallway. My phone rang immediately. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Harper, this is Attorney David Kim. I represent your parents in a legal matter." My blood went cold. "What kind of legal matter?" "They're exploring options regarding the property damage caused by your complaint to the city. I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss potential resolution." "There's nothing to resolve. Miss Harper, your parents are facing financial ruin. Surely we can find a mutually beneficial solution." "Let me be clear, Mr. Kim. I reported legitimate code violations. If my parents are facing consequences, it's because they chose to ignore building codes and lie to their contractor." "That's one interpretation of events. It's the only interpretation that matters. Don't call me again." I hung up and immediately called Penny. "They're threatening to sue me," I said when she answered. "For what? Reporting code violations?" "I don't know, but they hired a lawyer." "Summer, you documented everything. You have Roman's testimony, the city's inspection reports, your own professional records. They don't have a case. But they can still drag me through court, cost me money I don't have. Money you don't have because you spent it renovating their house." I was quiet for a moment. "Penny, what if I made a mistake?" "What kind of mistake?" "What if I should have just walked away? Let them have the house, cut my losses, moved on with my life. And let them get away with stealing from you? Maybe it would have been easier. Easier isn't the same as right." That evening, I drove past the house. The demolition had started. Heavy machinery sat in the driveway, and half the roof was gone. The beautiful kitchen I'd designed was exposed to the sky, cabinets hanging at odd angles. I parked across the street and watched the destruction. A car pulled up behind me, Roman's truck. He got out and walked over to my window. "Thought I might find you here. Just wanted to see it." "Mind if I sit?" I unlocked the passenger door. Roman climbed in and we sat in silence, watching the house come apart. "Any regrets?" he asked finally. "Every day." About reporting the violations? About all of it. About trusting them. About thinking family meant something different than it actually does. Roman was quiet for a moment. "You know what I regret?" "What?" "Not speaking up sooner. I knew something was wrong when your mom kept asking me to cut corners. I should have insisted on talking to you directly. It wouldn't have changed anything. They would have found another contractor. Maybe, but at least you would have known the truth earlier." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Summer, this is Aunt Jayla. Can you meet me tomorrow? I have something that belongs to you." I showed Roman the message. "You going to go?" he asked. "I don't know. I'm tired of family drama." "What if it's not drama? What if it's something else?" I met Jayla at a law office downtown. She was sitting in the waiting room with a briefcase and a nervous expression. "Summer, thank you for coming." "What's this about, Jayla?" "Your grandmother's estate." "Grandma Rose died 5 years ago." "I know, but there was a trust, something your parents never told you about." A lawyer appeared and led us into a conference room. He was older, distinguished, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Miss Harper, I'm Robert Walsh. I handled your grandmother's estate." "Okay. Your grandmother established a trust in your name when you turned 18. The terms were very specific." He opened a file and pulled out legal documents. "The trust becomes accessible when you demonstrate financial independence from your family. Your grandmother was concerned about certain family dynamics." "What kind of dynamics?" "She felt you were being taken advantage of. The trust was designed to activate when you stopped enabling what she called destructive family patterns." I stared at him. "How much money are we talking about?" $150,000, plus interest accumulated over 14 years. The room spun. "What? Your grandmother was quite wealthy, Miss Harper. She left the bulk of her estate to this trust, with instructions that it only be released when you proved you could stand up for yourself. Jayla leaned forward. Summer, she knew. Even back then, she knew how they treated you. But why didn't anyone tell me? Because, Mr. Walsh said, your grandmother specifically requested that you not be informed until the conditions were met. She wanted you to find your own strength, not rely on the promise of inheritance. And reporting the code violations demonstrated that you were finally willing to prioritize your own well-being over family manipulation, the trust activated last week. I sat in stunned silence. There's more, Jayla said quietly. Your grandmother left letters for you to read when the trust was released. Mr. Walsh handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in Grandma Rose's careful handwriting. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Summer, I read aloud, if you're reading this, it means you've finally learned to value yourself as much as you value others. I watched for years as your parents treated you like a bank account rather than a daughter. I watched Kyle take and take while you gave and gave. I hoped you would find your strength before it was too late. The money in this trust is not a reward for cutting ties with family. It's a foundation for building the life you deserve. Use it wisely. Use it for yourself. You are worth so much more than they ever let you believe. Love always, Grandma Rose. I looked up to find both Jayla and Mr. Walsh watching me with gentle expressions. She loved you very much, Jayla said. She just wanted you to love yourself too. I drove to the demolition site one last time. The house was completely gone now, just a pile of rubble and a concrete foundation. I parked and walked to the edge of the lot. My phone rang. Mom. Summer. The lawyer says you inherited money from Grandma Rose. That's right. Well, that's wonderful news. Maybe now you can help us get back on our feet. I looked at the empty lot, at the foundation that would need to be broken up and hauled away before anything new could be built. No, Mom, I can't. But we're family. No, I said firmly. We're not. Not anymore. I hung up and blocked the number. Then I pulled out a piece of paper, the blueprints I'd drawn for my own house, the one I'd been dreaming about for years, but never thought I could afford. I spread the plans on the hood of my car and looked at them in the fading light. A modest house with good bones, built to last, designed for someone who understood the value of a solid foundation. I folded the blueprints carefully and got back in my car. It was time to build something that was truly mine. The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, jolting me awake from the first decent sleep I'd had in weeks. I knew it was bad news before I even looked at the caller ID. Good news doesn't call before 7 in the morning. Olive, honey, you need to sit down. My mother's voice was shaking, which immediately put me on high alert. Phoebe Stone doesn't shake. She's the kind of woman who could organize a funeral while simultaneously hosting a dinner party and still have time to critique your outfit choices. My name is Olive Stone, and I should probably mention that I've been divorced from my cheating ex-husband for 2 years now. I run a small eco-friendly home goods boutique downtown, and I'm raising 8-year-old twins, Sienna and Alana, mostly on my own. It's not the life I planned, but it's mine, and I've worked damn hard to build it from the ashes of my marriage. Mom, what's wrong? I sat up in bed, already calculating how quickly I could get the girls ready for school if this was some kind of emergency. It's Benson. The name hit me like ice water. He's been in a terrible accident, sweetheart. A car accident. He's hurt very badly. I felt that familiar knot form in my stomach, the one that always appeared whenever my ex-husband's name came up. How badly? The doctors say he might never walk properly again. His back, his legs. Oh, Olive, it's just devastating. And he has nowhere to go. No family nearby. You know how his parents are in Florida, and he can't afford the kind of care he needs. I could hear my father's voice in the background, a low murmur of agreement. Will always backed up whatever Mom said, even when she was being completely unreasonable. Mom, I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't understand why you're calling me about this. Well, honey, we were thinking, you have that guest room and the girls should see their father, especially now when he needs them most. It would just be temporary until he gets back on his feet, if he ever does. The manipulation was so obvious it was almost insulting. Almost. But there was something in her tone, something that made my chest tighten with that old, familiar guilt. You want me to take in the man who cheated on me? The man who left me for his secretary and then tried to get out of paying child support? Olive, that's all in the past. This is about being the bigger person. This is about your daughters having their father in their lives. And honestly, sweetheart, it's about doing what's right. I walked to my kitchen window and stared out at my small backyard where the girls' bikes were scattered on the grass. I'd bought this house with the insurance money from selling our old place. Every mortgage payment was mine, every repair, every grocery bill, every sleepless night when one of the twins had a fever, all mine. I need to think about it. Of course, honey, but don't think too long. He's being discharged tomorrow and he literally has nowhere else to go. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee, trying to process what had just happened. The smart thing would be to say no. The healthy thing would be to maintain the boundaries I'd spent 2 years building. But then I thought about Sienna, asking why Daddy never came to her school plays, and Alana drawing pictures of our family with a conspicuous blank space where a father should be. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Bonnie. Coffee later? I have gossip about the new yoga instructor. I typed back, rain check, family drama brewing. Oh, scale of 1-10? Benson wants to move in. What? Calling you now. But I didn't answer when she called. I wasn't ready to hear someone else tell me what I already knew, that this was a terrible idea. Because despite every rational thought in my head, despite every hard-learned lesson about protecting myself and my daughters, I could feel myself wavering. Maybe it was the guilt, maybe it was the exhaustion of doing everything alone, or maybe it was just the tiny, pathetic part of me that still remembered what it felt like to have a partner, even a terrible one. I called my mother back an hour later. Okay, I said, but there are going to be rules. Oh, sweetheart, thank you. You're doing the right thing. You really are. As I hung up the phone, I had the strangest feeling that I'd just made a decision I was going to regret. But I pushed that thought away and went to wake up my daughters for school. After all, what could go wrong? Benson arrived on Thursday afternoon in a wheelchair, pushed by my mother like she was delivering a wounded war hero. I watched from my front window as they made their way up the ramp Will had somehow installed overnight without asking me. Girls, your daddy's here, I called upstairs, trying to keep my voice neutral. Sienna and Alana thundered down the stairs but stopped short when they saw the wheelchair. Benson looked up at them with what I can only describe as practiced vulnerability. Hey, my beautiful girls. Daddy had an accident, but I'm going to be okay. I just need to stay here with you and Mommy for a while. Alana immediately ran to him, but Sienna hung back, studying his face with the kind of intensity that made me proud and worried at the same time. Does it hurt? Alana asked, touching the wheelchair's armrest. Sometimes, sweetheart, but having you here makes it better. I caught my mother's eye over his head. She was practically glowing with satisfaction. Well, Phoebe announced, I'll just help him get settled in the guest room. Will's bringing his things from the car. For the next hour, my house became a staging area. My parents bustled around, rearranging furniture, setting up a temporary bathroom setup, and generally acting like they owned the place. Benson directed from his wheelchair, occasionally wincing dramatically when he had to reach for something. Olive, honey, could you make some tea? My mother asked. Benson's had such a long day. I bit back my first 3 responses and went to the kitchen. Through the window, I could see Will unloading box after box from their car. How much stuff did a temporarily disabled person need? Mom, Sienna appeared beside me. Why is Daddy really here? What do you mean, baby? He looks different. Not hurt different, just different. Before I could answer, Benson called from the living room. Olive, could you help me with something? I found him trying to transfer from the wheelchair to the couch, my mother hovering anxiously nearby. I've got it, he said, waving her away. But as he moved, I noticed something odd. His legs seemed to support his weight just fine for a split second before he collapsed onto the couch with a groan. The physical therapist says I need to try to use my legs when I can, he explained quickly, even though they're not reliable. Of course, I said. Whatever helps you heal. That evening, after my parents finally left and the girls were in bed, I found myself alone with Benson for the first time in over 2 years. He was on the couch, remote in hand, looking completely at home. This is weird, isn't it? He said, not looking away from the TV. Which part? You being here, or you pretending we're friends? He turned to face me then, and for a moment I saw a flash of the old Benson, the one who used to charm his way out of every argument. I know you don't owe me anything, Olive, but I'm grateful. The girls need their father. The girls needed their father 2 years ago when you were screwing your secretary. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? I made mistakes, I know that. But this accident, it's changed me, made me realize what's important. I stared at him. This man I'd once loved enough to marry, to have children with. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. But there was something in his eyes I couldn't quite place. I'm going to bed, I said. There are extra blankets in the hall closet if you get cold. Olive, he caught my arm as I passed. Thank you, really. I pulled away without answering. At 2:17 a.m., I woke up thirsty and padded to the kitchen for water. The house was dark except for the glow from Benson's phone in the living room. I could hear him talking quietly. No, it's going perfectly, he whispered. She bought it completely. Yeah, the wheelchair was a nice touch. What? No, she's not suspicious at all. Too guilty to ask questions. I froze in the hallway, my heart hammering. Trust me, by the end of the month, I'll have her eating out of my hand, and once I'm back in good with the girls— He paused, listening. Exactly. It's all about playing the long game. I crept back to my room, my mind racing. I sat on my bed in the dark, staring at nothing, trying to process what I'd just heard. When I finally fell back asleep, I dreamed about wolves in sheep's clothing. The next morning, Benson was back in his wheelchair, looking pale and helpless as my mother fussed over his breakfast. How did you sleep, honey? Phoebe asked me. Like a baby, I lied, watching Benson's face carefully. He smiled at me, all innocence and gratitude, but I'd heard enough to know that smile was just another lie. By the second week, Benson had made himself completely at home. I came back from dropping the girls at school to find him in my kitchen, making coffee with ingredients I definitely hadn't bought. Morning, Olive. I had your mom pick up some decent coffee beans. That stuff you drink tastes like burnt water. That stuff is what I can afford. Come on, don't be like that. I'm just trying to contribute. Speaking of which, Sienna's backpack is falling apart, and Alana needs new shoes. I noticed at breakfast. I set my purse down harder than necessary. Their backpack and shoes are fine. Are they, though? I mean, I know money's tight for you, but the girls shouldn't suffer because of it. The audacity was breathtaking. Money's tight because I'm supporting 3 extra people right now. 3? It's just me. You, plus my parents who are here every day eating my food and using my utilities. Benson wheeled closer, his voice dropping to that concerned tone I remembered from our marriage. Olive, you seem stressed. Maybe you should take a break from the shop. Focus on family for a while. I can't take a break from the shop. It's how I pay for this house. Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe this house is too much for you to handle alone. I stared at him. Are you suggesting I should sell my house? I'm just saying a smaller place might be more manageable. And if we were together again, we could pool our resources. We're not getting back together, Benson. Never say never. He smiled that old, charming smile. Accidents have a way of putting things in perspective. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. I'm going to work. At the shop, my employee Zane was rearranging the display window. He was one of those quietly observant people who noticed everything but only spoke when it mattered. You look like you want to punch something, he said without turning around. That obvious? Your ex still playing house? I'd told Zane the basics when Benson moved in, mainly so he'd understand if I seemed distracted. He's getting comfortable. Too comfortable. Zane stepped back to examine his work. You know, I was at the gym yesterday. Saw someone who looked exactly like your ex doing squats. Weird, right? Since he's supposed to be wheelchair-bound. I nearly dropped the inventory clipboard. What? Yeah, I did a double take. Guy had the same build, same hair, but couldn't be him, obviously. Zane's tone was carefully neutral. Unless he's got a twin brother who works out at Planet Fitness. What time was this? Around 10 in the morning, right when you said he had physical therapy. My phone buzzed with a text from Bonnie. Coffee break? I'm buying. 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from my best friend at our usual cafe, trying to keep my voice down. He's manipulating you, Bonnie said after I'd filled her in. This whole thing stinks, Olive. But what if he really is hurt? What if I'm being paranoid? Then explain the gym sighting. Explain why he's suddenly an expert on your finances. Explain why he's pushing you to sell your house. He didn't exactly say that. He implied it. That's how guys like Benson work. They plant seeds. Bonnie leaned forward. Listen to me. You spent 2 years building a life without him. Don't let him tear it down with guilt and fake injuries. The girls love having him around. The girls love the idea of having their dad around. There's a difference. When I got home, I found Benson in the garage, standing at my workbench, sorting through my tools. Not sitting, standing. Oh, hey, he said, quickly grabbing the wheelchair handles. I was just looking for a screwdriver. The girls' bike chains need adjusting. Since when do you know how to fix bikes? YouTube University. He lowered himself into the wheelchair with what looked like practiced ease. Amazing what you can learn when you have time on your hands. I thought you had physical therapy this morning. Cancelled. Therapist was sick. He wheeled past me toward the house. I made lunch for the girls. They'll be home soon. That evening, after the girls were asleep, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Olive? Yes? This is going to sound crazy, but I work at Planet Fitness downtown. I've been seeing your ex-husband there for weeks, working out, using the leg machines. I recognized him from the photo you have at your shop. My blood went cold. Are you sure? Positive. He's there most mornings around 10. Look, I don't know what's going on, but I thought you should know. My sister went through something similar with her ex. These guys will do anything to get back in. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at Benson's wheelchair, which was parked by the back door. I walked over and examined it closely. The seat cushion was barely worn. The wheels were clean, like they'd never been used outside. I pulled out my phone and started typing a text to Bonnie. You're not going to believe what I just found out. But before I could send it, I heard movement from the living room. I quickly deleted the message and pretended to be getting water. Everything okay? Benson appeared in the doorway, walking normally before catching himself and grabbing the door frame. Just thirsty, I said, not turning around. Good. Sweet dreams, Olive. As his footsteps retreated, I realized something had shifted. The game had changed, and I was finally ready to play. The opportunity came 3 days later when Benson left his old tablet in a basket of laundry I was folding. The screen lit up when I accidentally bumped it, and I saw he was still logged into his messaging apps. I should have walked away, should have minded my own business. But after everything I'd seen, everything I'd heard, I couldn't stop myself. The first few messages were normal. Then I scrolled back further and found a group chat labeled Family Plan with 3 participants, Benson, my mother, and my father, My hands started shaking as I read. Phoebe, 3 weeks ago. She's wavering. Keep pushing the guilt angle. Benson, 3 weeks ago. The wheelchair was genius. She can't say no to a cripple. Will, 3 weeks ago. I still think this is wrong. Phoebe, 3 weeks ago. Will, we talked about this. Olive needs family. She's been alone too long. Benson, 3 weeks ago. Once I'm back in the house, it's just a matter of time. She still loves me, deep down. I had to put the tablet down. My vision was blurring, and I felt like I might throw up. But I forced myself to keep reading. Benson, 2 weeks ago. I'm in. She bought the whole story, even got her parents helping with the performance. Phoebe, 2 weeks ago. How's she treating you? Benson, 2 weeks ago. Guilty as hell, perfect. Phase 2 starts next week. Will, 2 weeks ago. What's phase 2? Benson, 2 weeks ago. Financial integration, get her to see we're better together. Maybe suggest selling the house, pooling resources. Phoebe, 2 weeks ago. Brilliant. That house is too big for her anyway. I scrolled faster, my heart pounding. Benson, 1 week ago. She's getting suspicious, caught me standing up last night. Phoebe, 1 week ago. Be more careful, we can't lose momentum now. Benson, 1 week ago. Relax, I covered, told her about physical therapy exercises. Will, 1 week ago. Maybe we should stop. This feels wrong. Phoebe, 1 week ago. Will, for the last time, this is for her benefit. She needs us. She needs family. Benson, 1 week ago. Your wife's right, Will. Olive's been struggling alone for too long. We're helping her. Then I found something that made my blood freeze. Phoebe, 5 days ago. I looked at her bank statements when I was there yesterday. She's got more saved than I thought. Benson, 5 days ago. How much? Phoebe, 5 days ago. Enough for a nice fresh start for all of us. Will, 5 days ago. Phoebe, you went through her private papers? Phoebe, 5 days ago. I'm her mother. I'm looking out for her future. Benson, 5 days ago. This is perfect. Once we're remarried, that money becomes community property again. I screenshot everything, my fingers moving automatically while my brain tried to process the betrayal. My own mother had gone through my financial documents. My own parents were helping my ex-husband con me. But the worst was yet to come. I found a video file buried in their shared media. The timestamp showed it was recorded a month ago, before Benson's supposed accident. In the video, Benson was in my parents' driveway, completely healthy, demonstrating how he planned to fake his injuries. My mother was behind the camera giving direction. Remember, favor your left leg more, Phoebe's voice said, and don't forget to wince when you try to stand. Like this? Benson limped dramatically across the frame. Perfect. Oh, and Benson? Make sure you mention the financial strain. Olive's always been a sucker for people in need. They were laughing, actually laughing about manipulating me. I was still staring at the screen when I heard the front door open. Olive, I'm back, Benson called out. Physical therapy was brutal today. I quickly closed the tablet and shoved it back into the laundry basket, my heart hammering so loud I was sure he could hear it. How are you feeling? I asked when he wheeled into the laundry room. Exhausted. The therapist really pushed me today. Says I might never get full mobility back. He looked up at me with those practiced sad eyes. I'm trying to stay positive, but some days, I'm sure you are. Something in my tone must have caught his attention because he studied my face. You okay? You look pale. Just tired. Long day at the shop. You work too hard. Maybe it's time to consider scaling back. Focus on what's really important. And what's that, Benson? Family. Us. The girls need stability, and you need support. We could make this work, Olive. We could be a family again. I looked down at this man who had destroyed my marriage, who was now systematically trying to destroy the life I'd built from the ashes. This man who had recruited my own parents to help him manipulate me. That's a beautiful dream, I said. It doesn't have to be just a dream. You're right, I said, forcing a smile. Maybe it's time I stopped being so stubborn. His face lit up. Really? Really. In fact, why don't we have a family dinner this weekend? Invite my parents, maybe some extended family, celebrate your progress. Olive, that's wonderful. I knew you'd come around. I'm full of surprises, I said, walking away before he could see the expression on my face. Because I was full of surprises, and he was about to find out just how surprising I could be. The next morning, I called my mother bright and early. Phoebe, I've been thinking about what you said, about family being important. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so glad to hear that. I want to have a dinner party this Saturday. Nothing fancy, just family. You, Will, Benson, the girls. Maybe invite Aunt Sarah and Uncle Mike too. I want to celebrate Benson's progress. Olive, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you for taking this step. I thought we could make it special. Maybe set up the big screen in the dining room, show some family photos, make it really memorable. That sounds perfect. What can I bring? Just yourselves. I want to handle everything. After I hung up, I called Bonnie. I need your help with something, I said, and it's going to sound crazy. I'm listening. Can you babysit the girls Saturday night? I'm having a dinner party, but I don't want them there for the entertainment portion. Olive, what are you planning? Justice. An hour later, Bonnie was at my house, and I was showing her the screenshots and video from Benson's tablet. Holy shit, she whispered, scrolling through the messages. Your own mother? Gets worse, look at this. I showed her the video of Benson practicing his fake limp. I'm going to kill him, Bonnie said. I'm literally going to murder your ex-husband. No, you're not, because I have a better idea. That afternoon, I went to see Zane at the shop. I need a favor, I said, and it involves your tech skills. Zane looked up from the inventory he was updating. I'm intrigued. Can you set up a wireless camera system? Something that can stream to a big screen? Depends. What are we filming? A performance. Several performances, actually. I explained what I needed, and Zane's eyes lit up with understanding. Oh, this is going to be good. When do you need it? Saturday. And Zane, I need you there to run the technical side. Wouldn't miss it for the world. For the next 3 days, I played the perfect reformed ex-wife. I was attentive to Benson, grateful to my parents, and enthusiastic about our fresh start. You seem different, Benson said Thursday night as I brought him tea. Different how? Happier, more open. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what you said, about family being important. And? Maybe I was holding on to old hurt for too long. Maybe it's time to move forward. He reached for my hand. Olive, you don't know how happy this makes me. I think I do. Meanwhile, Zane had been busy. He'd installed tiny wireless cameras throughout my house, in the living room, kitchen, hallway, and garage, all connected to a central system that could display multiple feeds on my big screen. The beauty of this setup, he explained during a quick walkthrough while Benson was at his fake physical therapy, is that I can switch between live feeds and recorded footage seamlessly. It'll look like a professional presentation. And you got everything? Oh yeah, your ex is quite the performer when he thinks no one's watching. We'd captured Benson doing jumping jacks in the garage, lifting weights he'd hidden behind my holiday decorations, and even dancing to music in the hallway. The footage was damning. But the real treasure came Friday morning when I intercepted another group chat message. Phoebe, Friday, 9:15 a.m. She's planning something special for tomorrow. I think she's finally ready to take him back. Benson, Friday, 9:20 a.m. Told you the long game would work. By Sunday, I'll be back in the master bedroom. Will, Friday, 9:25 a.m. Are we sure this is right? She seems genuinely happy. Phoebe, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Will, stop second-guessing. This is what she needs. What we all need. Benson, Friday, 9:35. Once we're remarried, we can sell this house and get something bigger. Maybe closer to you guys. Phoebe, Friday, 9:40 a.m. I've already been looking at listings. There's a lovely place near us that would be perfect for the whole family. I screenshot everything and sent it to Zane with a message. Add this to tomorrow's presentation. Saturday morning, I was in full hostess mode. I cleaned the house, prepared food, and set up the dining room with the big screen prominently displayed. This is so nice, my mother said when she arrived early to help. I'm so proud of you for doing this. It's going to be a night to remember, I said. Benson wheeled himself around the house, playing the gracious patient. Olive's been amazing, he told my father. I don't know what I did to deserve a second chance. Your family, Will said, looking uncomfortable. Family takes care of each other. Exactly, I said, adjusting the camera angle slightly. Family should always be honest with each other, don't you think? By 6 o'clock, everyone had arrived. Aunt Sarah and Uncle Mike, Bonnie, who was taking the girls to a movie, and even a few neighbors I'd invited to make it feel more like a celebration. Should we eat first? My mother asked. Actually, I said, raising my wine glass, I'd like to make a toast first, and I have a little presentation prepared. Something special to mark this occasion. I nodded to Zane, who was positioned near the entertainment center with his laptop. This is a story about family, I began, and the lengths people will go to for the ones they love. The screen flickered to life, or the ones they think they can fool. Benson's face went white as his own image appeared on the screen, doing squats in my garage. What the hell is this? He whispered. This, I said, my voice steady and clear, is the truth. The room went dead silent except for the sound of Benson's recorded voice coming through the speakers. The wheelchair was genius. She can't say no to a cripple. My mother's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Olive, what is this? Benson's voice was shaking, but he was still in his wheelchair, still playing the part. This is 3 weeks of footage, I said calmly. Would you like to see more? The screen switched to the video of him lifting weights in my garage, then to him dancing in the hallway to music from his phone. Each clip was time-stamped, showing dates and times when he was supposed to be at physical therapy or resting. You've been spying on me? Benson tried to sound outraged, but his voice cracked. I've been documenting a fraud. I looked around the room. Aunt Sarah and Uncle Mike were staring at the screen in shock. My neighbors looked confused and uncomfortable. But wait, there's more. Zane switched to the group chat screenshots. The messages appeared on screen, blown up large enough for everyone to read. Phoebe. She's got more saved than I thought. Benson. Once we're remarried, that money becomes community property again. My mother made a strangled sound. Olive, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I turned to face her. You went through my private financial documents. You helped plan this whole charade. You recruited my own father to help you manipulate me. We were trying to help you. Phoebe's voice was rising. You've been alone for 2 years. The girls need their father. The girls need honest people in their lives, not liars and con artists. Will finally spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. Olive, I'm sorry. I told them this was wrong. But you went along with it anyway. She's my wife. I didn't know how to stop it. The screen changed again, showing the video of Benson practicing his fake limp in my parents' driveway. My mother's voice came through clearly. Make sure you mention the financial strain. Olive's always been a sucker for people in need. The laughter that followed was like a slap across the face to everyone in the room. Jesus Christ, Uncle Mike muttered. Phoebe, what the hell were you thinking? I was thinking about my daughter's happiness, my mother snapped. She's been struggling alone, working herself to death, and for what? Pride? For independence, I said. For self-respect. For teaching my daughters that they don't need to tolerate liars and cheaters. Benson suddenly stood up from the wheelchair. The movement was so smooth, so natural that several people gasped. Okay, fine, he shouted. You want the truth? Here's the truth. I made a mistake leaving you, Olive. I realized that after the divorce. I wanted my family back, and yes, I was desperate enough to fake an injury to get it. You wanted my money back, I corrected. And my house. And my life. I wanted US back. There is no us. There hasn't been an us since I found you screwing your secretary in our bed. The room erupted. Aunt Sarah started crying. Uncle Mike was shaking his head in disgust. My neighbors were whispering to each other, clearly wanting to leave, but too shocked to move. Everyone needs to calm down, my mother said, trying to regain control. This is a family matter. We can work through this. No, I said firmly. We can't, because you're not my family anymore. Olive, don't say that, Will pleaded. We made mistakes, but we're still family. Family doesn't lie to each other. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't conspire to manipulate each other. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. I want all three of you out of my house, now. You can't be serious, Benson said. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Call your secretary, call a hotel, call a homeless shelter. But you're not staying here another night. Olive, please, my mother was crying now. I'm your mother. I love you. I was just trying to... You were trying to control me like you always have, but I'm done being controlled. Benson grabbed the wheelchair and started loading his things into it. This is insane, Olive. You're making a huge mistake. The mistake was letting you in my house in the first place. What about the girls? They need their father. They need their father to be honest with them, something you've never been capable of. My mother made one last desperate attempt. Sweetheart, if you do this, if you cut us out, you'll be all alone. No family, no support system. Is that really what you want? I looked around the room at the shocked faces, at the broken glass on the floor, at the evidence of betrayal still glowing on the big screen. Yes, I said. That's exactly what I want. You'll regret this, Benson said as he wheeled toward the door. You'll come crawling back within a month. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. As they filed out, my father stopped in the doorway. I'm sorry, Olive. I really am. I know you are, Dad, but sorry doesn't fix this. After they left, the remaining guests made awkward excuses and hurried out. Soon it was just me, Zane, and the mess they'd left behind. Well, Zane said, starting to pack up his equipment, that was intense. I looked around my house, my quiet, honest house, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. 20 minutes after everyone left, Bonnie came back with the girls. She took one look at my face and the broken glass still scattered on the floor and immediately understood. Girls, why don't you go upstairs and get ready for bed? I'll be up in a few minutes to read you a story. Sienna and Alana looked between us, sensing the tension. Where's Daddy? Alana asked. He had to leave, sweetheart. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Is he coming back? Sienna's voice was small. I knelt down to their level. No, baby, he's not coming back. Good, Sienna said quietly, then ran upstairs. Alana followed, looking confused. Good? Bonnie raised an eyebrow. She's always been the perceptive one. After Bonnie got the girls settled, she came back downstairs and helped me clean up the wine glass. So how bad was it? She asked. Nuclear, Complete scorched earth. Any regrets? I considered the question while sweeping up glass shards. Ask me in a week. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. First my mother, then my father, then Benson. I let them all go to voicemail. By noon, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Phoebe, 7:23 a.m. Olive, please call me. We need to talk. Phoebe, 7:45 a.m. I'm your mother. You can't just cut me out of your life. Will, 8:15 a.m. Your mother is beside herself. Please just talk to her. Benson, 9:30 a.m. This is childish, Olive. The girls need stability. Benson, 10:15 a.m. I'm talking to my lawyer about custody. You can't keep my daughters from me. Phoebe, 11:20 a.m. I've been calling your shop. Zane says you're not taking calls. This is ridiculous. I turned my phone off and focused on my daughters, who were unusually quiet over breakfast. Mom, Sienna said finally, was Daddy lying about being hurt? There was no point in sugarcoating it. Yes, he was. Why? He wanted to move back in with us, and he thought if we felt sorry for him, we'd say yes. That's mean, Alana said. Yes, it is. Are Grandma and Grandpa in trouble too? I took a deep breath. Grandma and Grandpa helped Daddy lie to us, so yes, they're in trouble too. Are we going to see them anymore? Not for a while. Maybe not ever. Sienna nodded like this made perfect sense. Can we have pancakes? The resilience of children never ceased to amaze me. Monday morning, I was at the shop when my lawyer called. Olive, I just got a call from Benson's attorney. He's filing for emergency custody, claiming you're mentally unstable. Based on what? Apparently, he has witnesses who say you had some kind of breakdown at a dinner party, set up cameras to spy on family members, made wild accusations. I laughed, which probably didn't help my case for mental stability. I have video evidence of him faking a disability to manipulate me, and text messages proving he conspired with my parents to con me out of my money. Can you send me everything? I'll need to review it all. Already on its way. That afternoon, Aunt Sarah called. Olive, honey, I don't know what to say about Saturday night. You don't have to say anything. Your mother called me this morning crying. She says you won't talk to her. That's correct. She's your mother, Olive. She made a mistake, but she loves you. Love doesn't excuse betrayal, Aunt Sarah. But family is supposed to protect each other, not prey on each other. There was a long pause. What can I do to help fix this? Nothing. There's nothing to fix. It's over. Tuesday brought a visit from my mother. She showed up at the shop during lunch, looking haggard and desperate. Olive, please, just 5 minutes. We have nothing to discuss. I'm your mother. You're a stranger who happens to share my DNA. Phoebe's face crumpled. How can you say that? After everything I've done for you. You mean after everything you've done to me? I was trying to help. You were alone, struggling. I was thriving. I built a business, bought a house, raised my daughters. I was happy. You were lonely. I was free. She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. I don't understand you anymore. You never did. You just thought you could control me. And now what? You're going to raise those girls all alone? No family support? No help? I have friends. I have people who actually care about me, not just what they can get from me. Friends aren't family. Sometimes they're better. She left crying, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no sadness, no regret, just relief. Wednesday, Benson showed up at school pickup. I saw him talking to the girls through the fence, and my blood pressure spiked. Daddy! Alana ran to him when she saw me approaching. Hey, sweetheart, I missed you. Girls, get in the car, I said firmly. Olive, they're my daughters too. Not according to the restraining order I filed this morning. His face went white. You didn't. Fraud, harassment, and attempted financial exploitation. My lawyer was very thorough. You can't keep me from my kids. Watch me. As we drove away, Sienna turned to me from the back seat. Mom, are you okay? I looked at her in the rearview mirror. This wise, brave little girl who saw through everyone's lies. Yeah, baby, I'm perfect. And for the first time in years, I actually meant it. The restraining order held. Benson's lawyer tried to fight it, but when faced with video evidence of fraud and documented harassment, they quickly backed down. The emergency custody petition was dismissed so fast it was almost embarrassing. Your ex-husband has agreed to supervised visitation only, my lawyer explained over the phone. 2 hours every other Saturday at the family center. And Olive? He's also agreed to pay the back child support he's been dodging. How much? $18,000 plus ongoing payments. I hung up and did a little victory dance in my kitchen. The fallout in my extended family was swift and brutal. Uncle Mike called to tell me that half the family thought I was a hero, and the other half thought I was a vindictive bitch who'd destroyed my mother's health. She's lost 15 pounds, he said. Won't eat, barely sleeps. Will's worried sick. That's unfortunate. Olive, come on, she's your mother. My mother wouldn't have stolen from me. She didn't steal. She went through my private financial documents and shared the information with my ex-husband so he could plan how to get his hands on my money. What would you call that? Uncle Mike was quiet for a long moment. I'd call it theft. Exactly. The girls adapted faster than I expected. Sienna seemed relieved that the tension in the house was gone. Alana asked about Daddy and Grandma a few times, but when I explained that they had lied to us, she accepted it with the straightforward logic of childhood. Lying is bad, she said matter-of-factly. We don't talk to people who lie. That's right, baby. Can we get a dog instead? I laughed. We'll see. Business at the shop actually improved. Word had gotten around about what happened, and apparently there were a lot of people in town who dealt with manipulative family members. I became something of a local legend. You're the woman who exposed her cheating ex at a dinner party, a customer said one afternoon. My sister told me about it. Good for you. It wasn't about revenge, I said, ringing up her purchase. It was about truth. Same thing sometimes. Zane had become my unofficial business partner, handling the technical side while I focused on buying and customer relations. He never mentioned the dinner party directly, but sometimes I caught him smiling when difficult customers tried to manipulate me. You're not falling for that, he'd say after they left. Not anymore. Never again. The hardest part was the loneliness. Not the kind my mother had assumed I felt. I'd never been lonely when it was just me and the girls, but the specific loneliness of realizing that the people you'd trusted most in the world had been willing to betray you for their own agenda. Bonnie helped fill that gap. She started coming over for dinner twice a week, and her kids became like siblings to my girls. We created our own little chosen family. Any regrets? She asked one evening while we watched the kids play in the backyard. About cutting them off? No? About the way you did it? I considered this. I could have handled it privately, confronted them one-on-one, given them a chance to explain. But they'd been lying to me for months, planning it, coordinating it, laughing about it. They didn't deserve privacy or consideration. Fair enough. Besides, the public humiliation was the only thing that actually stopped them. If I'd done it quietly, they would have kept pushing, kept trying to manipulate me. And now? Now they know I'm not the same person they used to be able to control. The supervised visits with Benson were awkward, but manageable. He tried to pump the girls for information about my life, my finances, my dating situation. They reported back to me with the brutal honesty of 8-year-olds. Daddy asked if you have a boyfriend, Sienna told me after one visit. What did you tell him? that it's none of his business. Good girl. He also asked if we miss him. And? I said sometimes, but not the lying part. My parents made one final attempt at reconciliation. They showed up at my house on a Sunday morning, looking older and more fragile than I remembered. Olive, my father said through the screen door, we just want to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Please, my mother whispered. I'm sorry. We're both sorry. I looked at them standing on my porch, these people who had raised me, who had once been the center of my world. I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, no love, just emptiness where they used to be. I know you are, I said, but sorry doesn't change what you did. What can we do to fix this? Will asked. Nothing. There's nothing you can do. I closed the door and locked it. They stood there for another 10 minutes before finally leaving. That night, I tucked the girls into bed and sat in my quiet living room. My house, my rules, my life. No lies, no manipulation, no hidden agendas. Mom? Sienna appeared in the doorway in her pajamas. What's up, sweetheart? Are you sad about Grandma and Grandpa? Sometimes, but I'm not sorry. Good. We don't need people who lie to us. No, we don't. We have each other. We do. And Bonnie and her kids. Them too. And Zane at the shop. Yes. That's enough family, right? I pulled her onto my lap. That's perfect family. She curled up against me, and I realized something important. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by people who chose to be in my life, who valued honesty over convenience, who supported me without trying to control me. That was worth more than blood relations could ever be. Mom. Yeah? Can we really get a dog? I laughed. We'll see. But I was already thinking about what kind of dog would be best for two little girls who'd learned early that loyalty had to be earned, not assumed. Maybe a rescue. Something that understood what it meant to start over. Something that knew the difference between a house and a home,